After what Terry Collins called a long, hot road trip, the Mets are back in the Empire State, ready for a lot of home games over the next few weeks, trying to insinuate themselves into the National League wildcard race. It won't be smooth sailing, but the Mets have got themselves a shot. At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the Florida Marlins. Mets baseball is presented in HD by IOTV. Get the best in HD free with IOTV. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. I'm Gary Cohen. Keith Hernandez and Ron Darling join me in just a moment as the Mets start a 10-game homestand with the first of 3 against the Florida Marlins. Opportunity presents itself this week for the Mets because the Atlanta Braves, who lead the National League wildcard race, are coming in this weekend. The Mets are 7.5 behind. But the Mets have played a lot better on the road this year. They just finished a 6-4 road trip than they have here at Citi Field.
You know, the thing about the Mets, Terry Collins was addressing it before the game today. He said that when they do their defensive spray charts and look at their offense on the road, they show the ability to hit to all fields and hit for power to all fields. What happens here at City Park by their spray charts as the Mets try to pull the ball more. Looks like they're trying to really amp up and get this ball out of the ballpark, and he really needs them and wants them to go back to what they did on the road, and that is routinely getting hits in double figures.
And it starts tonight against the Marlins, a team that's given the Mets fits so far this year, and with the Braves coming up this weekend, I would imagine that looking ahead might be a problem for this team.
Well, there's an old maxim in this game, and it's not cliche. It is cliche, but it works, and it is true, is that one day at a time. You cannot look past this Marlin team. They are 3-5 against the Marlins this year, and let's not forget 2007 and 2008. The Marlins in the last weekend series has ended the Mets season in hopes for playoffs. So this is a team that plays the Mets very hard. They've come since Jack McKeon has taken over this ball club. They've played much better, and the Mets got to not think in terms of, okay, the weekend with the Braves and then the Padres after. They got to take care of business this series.
And it starts tonight with Mike Pelfrey on the mound. Now, Mike delivered a definitive performance his last time out, a complete game against the Reds.
And only 108 pitches. He had 109 pitches in Detroit and only 4 2/3. So that's what he has been doing best and best in his last start. Throwing that sinker more, getting ground balls, and working efficiently. And tonight he's going to go against Javier Vasquez, who was really roughed up in the first series in Florida by the Mets, but he's a guy who has 27 innings pitched, 159 wins, and over 2,400 strikeouts. He's had an amazing career.
A familiar opponent for the Mets tonight in Vasquez as Pelfrey tries to put together back-to-back positive starts. A warm day in New York. Yeah, it's the dog days of summer. A third of a season to go. Mets and Marlins coming up. TV. Get the best in HD free with IOTV. By the New York Lottery. Play New York Lottery's Mega Millions and live large. Hey, you'd never know. By Budweiser, great times are waiting. Grab some buds. By eHarmony, love begins here. By your Tri-State Ford dealers. And Citi card holders, tickets are now on sale for a special access Chalk Talk event with Sandy Alderson and Mookie Wilson. Log on to CitiPrivatePass.com for more info. Hitting the road, take the Mets with you this season. Subscribe to MLB.tv today to see every Mets game live or on demand on your computer and your favorite devices. Visit Mets.com to order and get more details. MLB.tv. Baseball everywhere. Javier Vasquez making his way in from the bullpen with his catcher John Buck. Mike Pelfrey getting ready for his 23rd start of the year. Can he back up his performance in Cincinnati from last week? Mets will send Pelfrey to the mound as they open a 10-game homestand at Citi Field. Mets and Marlins, first pitch coming right up. Express, where you can plug in and workers, sit back and relax. Book now at Amtrak.com. That is Joel Roberts throwing out the first pitch. Joel is the dad of Evan Roberts for Daily on WFAN, and Joel has been a huge Mets fan and season ticket holder for many, many years. Today is his 60th birthday, and so he gets the privilege of throwing out the first pitch. Good job, Joel. Here's the Marlins starting lineup, brought to you by Ford. Logan Morrison missed a day yesterday. He was struggling on the Marlins' current road trip, but led the National League in RBIs in July, and he's back in there today. Emilio Bonifacio, who had his 26-game hitting streak, ended on Friday night. Up at the top of the batting order for Jack McKeon's Marlins, who played well on this road trip.
And Big Pal on the mound. You can see 23rd start of the season. 6-9 this year, 15-9 last year, and looking for his 50th win as a New York Met.
And we'll take a look at the New York Metropolitan defense, brought to you by Lexus. And you see that's too many errors they've been making lately. That's in the month of July. So Bay, the same outfield. Duda out and right. I'd like to see that. Duda getting some playing time. Turner, Paulino. Paulino's getting the start tonight.
There's 80-year-old Jack McKeon. Replaced Edwin Rodriguez with the Marlins 8 games under 500. He is 6 games over 500 since taking over.
He's going to dent in his hat.
He's got to fix his hat. Come on,
go,
Jack.
Jack,
get in uniform.
Here's the one thing I know about Jack. He doesn't care.
No, that's right.
He just doesn't care, and that really has helped him really establish a different tone with this Marlins team. They've just come from Atlanta, where they won a very strange game yesterday. The Braves had 13 hits but scored only 1 run. It's the first time that had happened to the Braves since 2 cities ago, 1951, when they played in Boston.
Wow.
And it's the first time in Marlins history that ever held a team to 1 run when they had 13 hits. It's hard to do.
I've been there. That's usually 5 or 6 easy.
Emilio Bonifacio leads off against Pelfrey, who beat the Marlins in his major league debut and hasn't beaten them since. Corners in against the speedy Bonifacio, and the first pitch of the night, ball 1 from Pelfrey.
And by the way, you read the article in the paper today about Pelf saying he's going to pour in the sinker. I mean, no military intelligence needed by the Marlins.
Maybe it's a ruse.
It could be. We'll find out.
Well, Pelfrey pitched a good game against the Marlins here back in May. 1 run in 7 innings. It was a no decision for him. 2-1 Florida win. But it's been 5 years since he's beaten Florida, since that first major league start when the Mets scored 17 runs for him at Shea.
The Jose Valentin game.
Yeah, Valentin had, what, a grand slam in the first and a 3-run triple in the second. That'll get you off to a good start. Slap to shortstop. Reyes comes in. Knows he has to be quick with it and takes care of Bonifacio for the first out of the night.
Ronnie, I got to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Pelf, in that article that I read, it was very interesting how he said he lost his pitching slot working on his secondary pitches, and now he's getting more on top of his sinker. Now, if you have a different pitch slot for your secondary pitches and your fastball, isn't that Western Union?
It's Western Union, and the hitters recognize that straight away. You want everything that came out of the same slot. What he said, though, in developing his secondary pitches, he got out of the slot where he has his best pitch, and that is the sinker.
So the question is, does he compensate by going to the best slot for the sinker to get it back, or does he find a different way to throw it?
I think he's always got to work off the foundation that the sinker's #1 and go to other pitches.
Omar Infante has great career numbers against Pelfrey. 13 for 23. It's a .565 batting average. And Infante, who struggled so badly earlier in the season, has all of a sudden started to pick it up. Since the All-Star break, he's hitting .350. Interesting, isn't it, that just as Ugla, for whom Infante was traded, has started to pick it up with Atlanta, Infante has done the same.
Well, there's a few players on this Marlins roster that have picked it up since Jack McKeon has come, because he has let them know if you don't play well, you're going to sit. There's Eduardo Perez, their new hitting coach.
0-2 from Pelfrey, and Infante slugs one out to left. Back goes Bay onto the track, and it's over his head and off the wall and bouncing away. Pagan late to get over to back up, and so Infante easily goes to third base. A triple for Infante, and I don't know why Pagan didn't get there sooner. After Bay got close to the wall and the ball bounced past him.
Well, if anything, it looked like Bay thought he had a chance here to catch the ball. Then he realized, my goodness, it's carrying. I better back up.
That ball hits just about 3-4 feet shy of being a home run. Angel got stuck in center field and did not move. That's why he got there late and hustling right from the start, as these Marlins will do, is Omar Infante.
Well, with that high fence out there in left field, you can't take anything for granted, and Pelfrey hung a slider right there.
6th triple of the year for Infante, so he gets the measure of Pelfrey again, and now Gabby Sanchez, who has the measure of every Met. Gabby Sanchez is now hitting .382 lifetime against the Mets, which now puts him #1 among active players who have at least 100 at-bats against the Mets. He's 1 point ahead of Derek Jeter in his lifetime average against the Mets.
And it's a hard .380.
3 home runs this year, 6 for his career, and he takes ball 1.
You know, it's interesting, Jack McKeon talking about Gabby Sanchez. He said, I love Gabby Sanchez. You know why? Because he's serious when he comes to the ballpark. And Jack McKeon is also.
Gabby finally sat out 3 games last week with a hamstring. He had started every game up until then. Flares it out to right. On comes Duda. Tagging is Infante. Duda's throw to the plate. Too late. And Infante scores the first run of the night. Gabby Sanchez drives in his 59th run, and it's 1-0 Florida. So Infante able to leg out the triple, and that pays off in a run.
Well, the hustle for Gary out of the box pays off with a run.
So 2 out and nobody on. Now Hanley Ramirez will bat. Hanley hitting at 242, which is a far cry from what he hit 2 years ago when he led the league in hitting, but it's also a far cry from the 200 he was hitting a month and a half ago. And he bounces one for Turner. Nice easy hop for Justin. Hanley Ramirez out on 1 pitch. Marlins are done, but they score a run against Pelfrey in the first. 1-0 Florida. In there at second base, Daniel Murphy due for a day off tomorrow when the Marlins start a left-hander, trying to get his August started fresh after a great month of July. Jose Reyes leads off against Javier Vasquez. Reyes at 341 leading the National League. And he bluffs the bunt and takes ball 1 from the 35-year-old Vasquez.
Vasquez has had one of the quietest good careers in baseball. 9 times he's pitched over 200 innings. 11 times in a row he's made more than 30 starts.
Reyes pops one up. Ramirez out. Morrison in. Who's going to get him? Ramirez out to grab it. 1 away.
Well, this is not the speediest of outfielders out here, and Morrison it's not fleet of foot, so Ramirez recognizes that and takes over. We'll take a look at the Coors Light Marlin defense, and they are playing pretty good as far as the errors are concerned. They really solidified their defense up the middle with the acquisition of Infante in the offseason. And Bonifacio is a decent third baseman, and Gabby Sanchez has made tremendous strides defensively at first base.
Here's Justin Turner, who had his 10-game hitting streak stopped on Saturday, sat yesterday as Willie Harris played second base. Turner at 273 on the year.
You know, Keith, going back to your errors there, you don't know how to judge that, but in the past the Marlins have always traditionally led the National League in errors, so it's got to be a move up.
Well, there were 2 things the Marlins did in the offseason. They wanted to upgrade their bullpen and their defense.
Curveball to Turner, looped out to the center, and Brian Peterson is there, 2 out.
And also they brought back their infield instructor, who has always been one of the best in major leagues, Perry Hill. He was so good that Castillo, when he won his Gold Glove, gave it to Perry Hill to put in his house. So that's how close they were. I wouldn't do that, but that's all right.
Well, here's Murphy, who's riding an 8-game hitting streak and hitting .485 over the 8 games. Now 3rd in the National League with a .319 average, 3rd in the league in doubles with 28. And a call strike to Murphy. Mets are seeing Vasquez for the first time since the opening series of the year in Florida, when they beat him up worse than they ever have before. He gave up 7 runs in that game. He had never given up that many runs against the Mets in 26 career starts. But lately he's been pitching his best baseball of the year.
4 of his last 6 starts, he's gone at least 7 innings, and he's throwing the ball a lot harder.
David Wright waiting on deck. David has not had an at-bat at Citi Field since May the 8th. Was hurt or finally shut down while the Mets were on the road, and then made his return during this just completed 10-game road trip. So he has not had an at-bat at home in a long time. Murphy pulls one through the hole, and he's got himself a base hit. Murphy wastes no time, extending his hitting streak to 9.
All right, do we put an anchor around his neck there at first base?
So David Wright, who had a phenomenal road trip, 2 months on the disabled list, and he came back hitting the ground running as hard as he possibly can. 10-game hitting streak, hitting .455 in the 10 games.
And I think more importantly, Gary, he's gotten a little closer to the plate, and he's got that bat speed back. He's keeping that front shoulder in. He's working up the middle. I like what I see. It's the old David Wright.
And as Vasquez comes up and in. And now I think we get an early indication about what Ronnie was talking about in the opening, as you look at that high, tight fastball, about the fact that Terry Collins feels as though the Mets have been trying to pull the ball too much at Citi Field. David was taking the ball to right field so naturally throughout the road trip. And a curveball misses 2-0.
Well, I had that discussion with Dave Hudgens and on the airplane flying up to Cincinnati, and he said he wants David to work that way, keep that shoulder in and take that inside pitch. He got into the bad habits of flying out, so I don't want him to look in just yet. I want him to get the old habit of staying in and going up the middle, and I couldn't agree with him more.
Well, he's been just about 50-50 left field, right field.
Yeah, but just curious as to what it is since he's come back.
Well, many more of those right field hits have come lately. Murphy at first with 2 out. And Vasquez concentrating on up and in against Wright. It's 3-1.
You know, Keith, it was very interesting in Washington. Wright was buzzed. The next pitch was a slider away. He hit a base hit to left field. So no ill effects, it seems, from early being pitched inside.
I saw that at bat, came back with a slider, and he stayed in.
And a 3-1 breaking ball is high, ball 4, and the Mets have 2 men on. So Vasquez working very carefully to right with Pregame on deck.
Vasquez is an outstanding student of the game. He knows how to pitch, and he's certainly not going to let Wright beat him as he's come back from that injury. Pregame will have to do it. Pagane's going to have to get hot to ensure David keeps getting pitched to.
It's been a very rough stretch for Pregame. He had a good series in Cincinnati, then he had a tough time in Washington. It's just been hard for him to sustain anything. 0 for his last 11 at the plate. And you know, this is the spot in the order where Pregame wants to be, and he has paid off in RBI situations. I mean, he's hitting .235 for the year, but .341 with runners in scoring position. And you see with 2 outs, he's been successful as well. Slap to third. Bonifacio will take it to the bag, and that retires the side. A hit, a walk, and 2 left. After 1, it's 1-0 Florida. Admission to Mets games through this Sunday, August 7th. Get to Mets.com/kidsfree for tickets and details. Logan Morrison will lead off the second inning for Florida with the Marlins up 1-0. Morrison 26 RBIs in July, which led the major leagues. Interesting because he hasn't been hitting for a very high average. It'll be Morrison, then Mike Stanton, and Brian Peterson for the Marlins in the second, after Pelfrey yielded a run in the first on a triple by Infante and a sacrifice fly. And he comes inside 2-0. Well, there are the RBI numbers from July.
Murphy and Bay led the Mets with 15 apiece.
I got a great number for you from July. You know who the Mets' leading home run hitter was in July?
Wait a minute. Yes, I got it.
Scott Hairston hit 4 home runs in July, including the 2 yesterday. That led the team. You know who was second? Carlos Beltran. He had 3. Nobody else had more than 2. But think about that. Think about how successful the Mets were in July with a very different kind of an offense.
Well, Hairston's couldn't have been more timely.
All he needed to do was hit 1 more. Reyes has Morrison played absolutely perfectly. 1 out. Let's check out the inside pitch on Mike Pelfrey, brought to you by the Xerox business of baseball. Xerox, ready for real business.
Well, he was on the first base side of the rubber, but Dan Worth and the pitching coaches moved Mike Pelfrey back to the middle of the rubber. That arm angle change for his sinker. He really has dropped down a little more to make that ball sink a little. And 108 pitches and a complete game effort his last start against Cincinnati. He had a start in Detroit where he only went 4 2/3 and threw 109. Very efficient.
Ball 1 to Mike Stanton, who has 2 home runs and 11 career at bats against Pelfrey. 24 this year, tied for 3rd in the National League, and he takes a rip at the fastball, 1-1. Stanton just 21 years old and as much power as anybody in the game.
He's very strong. Got a stiff swing.
To me, yeah, go ahead,
I just don't. I think he's got a slider swing, Ron. You don't want anything off speed, let him catch up.
Slider bat speed. I think that if it's 2-0, 3-1, he'll definitely catch up. But he has a slider speed bat. Don't hang one.
One of a host of gifted young sluggers in the National League East. And the slider fouled away.
So Hunter Pence on that list now? He hasn't played enough games, or he's not young enough?
Yeah, but I don't think of him as a slugger. He's more of a line drive, all-around hitter. But he's got to be thrilled to be in that lineup now.
I'll say, what an acquisition for Philadelphia.
Well, how about the Braves then getting another piece from the Astros outfield? Michael Bourne, who had to hit his first time up and his first at bat as a Brave tonight in Washington. Ricky homered in the bottom of the first, leading off against Jair Jurgens. Ugla homered in the top of the second off Levon Hernandez to tie that game up. 1-2 to Stanton. Ripped foul. Got an early start against that fastball.
Well, if you're a Houston Astros fan, I think you are getting ready for Friday Night Lights for the high school football.
Well, what's fascinating to me about what the Astros did is not only did they trade their two biggest offensive players, is Stanton has himself a one-out hit, second hit off Pelfrey. But then, after trading away Pence and Bourne, they sent both of their young corner infielders, Brett Wallace and Chris Johnson, down to the minors.
And both guys they brought up are kind of career minor league guys. So I think, Gary, it was a message to both of them. You have not performed well. Go down to AAA, and we'll bring you back up in September.
I mean, you talk about shedding your entire team. What's left?
Man.
Wandy Rodriguez.
There you go.
Brett Myers. That's about it. Here's Brian Peterson. I mean, the other thing about the Astros is they've got that young pitcher, Jordan Lyles, who they had so much stock in, and he hasn't won a game yet. He's 0-6.
Well, it's easy to be 0-6 with that team, by the way.
John Buck waiting on deck. Brian Peterson playing center field tonight. And the curveball from Pelfrey fouled off. Mike Cameron has been swinging the bat very well for the Marlins, but getting tonight off.
Probably get a start in tomorrow's game, don't you think, Cameron, against Chris Capuano?
Ball and 2 strikes to Peterson, who was hitting .351 in AAA before he was called up. Has had trouble getting on track here.
By the way, Murphy is not a small guy. Look at that picture. Stanton just dwarfing Murph at first base.
Like a funhouse mirror. Past the mound, Reyes right at the bag, steps and fires for the double play, side retire. So Pelfrey, who had 14 ground ball outs in his last start, has got all his outs on the ground tonight. Here's your AT&T trivia question for tonight. Who was the only Met player to hit over 350 in a season?
Oh, I know that.
Got that one too.
Left-hand hitter, right?
Yep.
Yes, sir. Jason Bay leads off in the home second and drives one to left field. So right there is Morrison. 1 pitch and 1 out. So Jason, who went 8 for 16 over the last 4 games, retired on 1 pitch by Javier Vasquez. And now Lucas Duda, who had a rough series in Washington, 0 for 11 in his last 4 games. And Vasquez misses wide for ball 1.
Thunder we're hearing in the background?
Yes, we are.
You didn't think we were out of the woods yet, did you? A lot of rain and hail and all sorts of stuff on the island this afternoon.
Saw a lot of cars that had their windshields broken on the side of the road.
Really?
Yeah, and then the hail.
Wow.
Not a lot, a few, but you know, actually one's enough.
One's more than enough if it's you.
There was a lot of flooding on the LIE. And they shut down the northern both directions with flooding, and that's I think there's not a very good big crowd here tonight because people just said, heck, I'm not going to.
Well, they shut down the Long Island Railroad too.
That's right.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
That's a problem. Good changeup by Vasquez, 2-2. And Vasquez got every pitch, doesn't he?
He does, and if he's got it working, he will throw that backdoor breaking ball. He'll pound you in with his fastball.
Dude has got his fan club.
That's great.
Lucas hit 2 home runs on the just completed road trip, 1 in Florida, 1 in Cincinnati. His first 2 of the year. He hits this one out to left center, and Peterson ranging over. And there are 2 out. So 4 of Vasquez's 5 outs have been recorded in the air. 2 out and nobody on for Ronnie Polino. You know, I watch Javier Vasquez, and I've been watching him since he was in Montreal. He's had a long career, and it's been so puzzling at times because his career has such peaks and valleys. He's a .500 pitcher for his career, 1 game over, 159 and 158, and you look at how he struggled with the Yankees in both of his stints in New York.
Well, I think his greatest strength, Gary, is his durability. He doesn't miss starts, and he always pitches over 200 innings. He gets a lot of strikeouts. He's also played for some teams, not the Yankees, but early Montreal teams that weren't very good teams.
Polino lines a base hit. So that enables the Mets to at least clear the pitcher spot here in the 2nd inning. Polino has the Mets' 2nd hit.
Well, the key to hitting a hanger, watch his front shoulder. He stays right in.
Boy,
Had to reach for it a little bit.
No stride, though. Keith, he just steps in the same place.
I don't care for that. I don't care for the toe tap. It makes for mechanical hitters, but it works for a lot. David Wright is one of them, so whatever makes it work, go for it.
Well, here's Pelfrey, who had as good a game swinging the bat as any this year in his last start. He had a base hit and a line drive to center field that was caught. Just 2 for 37 at the plate this season. But you know what I mean about Vasquez? I mean, 2 years ago with Atlanta, he was as good as you could possibly be.
He had 238 punch outs that year.
An ERA of 2.87, and went to the Yankees last year, and his ERA basically doubled and got off to a rough start this year, but now has just recently begun to kick it in gear again.
Yeah, and he has had that reputation given to him. Ozzie Smith dropped it on him. Not Ozzie Smith, Ozzie Guillen dropped it on him. And then, of course, being here and pitching here in New York, that he can't pitch on the big stage.
Oh, boy.
Pelfrey slugs one out to center field. Peterson back to the warning track to run it down. Mike Pelfrey hits one 400 feet. And Peterson did well to grab it to take an extra base hit away and probably save a run. Nicely done by Peterson. What's gotten into Pelfrey? He's looking like a hitter. Still 1-0 Florida. One place. Well, yesterday was the trading deadline in Major League Baseball, the non-waiver trading deadline, because deals can still be made if players get through waivers or if they're claimed and the teams work out a deal. But these were some of the notable deadline deals the last few days before the deadline involving National League teams. The Braves and Phillies clearly got incredibly important pieces, with Bourne going to the Braves and Pence going to the Phillies.
You know, the Pirates are trying to get that veteran lead that might be able to lead some of their younger players through these tough times.
I have to say, from the Pirates' perspective, and maybe this is just me talking as John Buck leads off the third, their moves smacked a little bit of desperation. It's a team that hasn't been in contention in a long time. They're trying to show their players and their fans that they're doing something, and just in the last couple of weeks they've gone from first place to 4.5 games out. Derek Lee is not the Derek Lee that he was 5-6 years ago.
And Ryan Ludwig also, but I will say, Gary, they gave up almost nothing for both those players. So, you know, they didn't tap into their farm system. They're just trying to get some veteran leadership as they've gone into this tumble.
Yeah, but the problem is now they stuck Derek Lee in the lineup. He's in cleanup tonight. And, you know, Derek Lee, I think, was a terrific player in his heyday, but he's not that player anymore.
And he's kind of a in first gear kind of play. I just kind of, would you want someone like that around your young players? He's not inspirational.
Yeah, but you know what? In Pittsburgh, the manager is, and that's one of the reasons why they've done as well as they have.
And they got swept by the Phillies, and that's what just put them 4.5 back.
We didn't talk about the Cardinals getting Rafael Furcal, who should help them at shortstop, although Terriel's played much better the last couple days.
Yeah, I don't know. Same thing with Furcal. I mean, he's a good veteran player, but he's not played very well this year. I think what might turn out to be the bigger acquisition for the Cardinals is Edwin Jackson, as Buck drives one to deep right center, and back goes Duda to grab it. So Buck, who hit that grand slam off Pelfrey opening day, drives this one to right, but playable in this ballpark, 1 out. You know, Jackson in their rotation enables them to push Kyle McClellan back into the bullpen where he belongs.
Although he got roughed up in last night's game.
It was a strange game, wasn't it?
It really
Jake
was.
Westbrook was perfect for the first 5 1/3.
You know, that happens a lot of times. We've seen it happen here with some of the Mets pitchers. Veteran guys occasionally, Gary, you know, they just run out of steam. That's what happened to Westbrook last night.
The other interesting team, and they're going into a huge series starting tonight, is the Arizona Diamondbacks, who have been playing very well. They've won 10 of their last 15. They're 2 games behind the Giants, and they start a series in San Francisco tonight. And they made a couple of moves to shore up their pitching staff.
Yeah, they're facing Matt Cain, I believe, tonight. And they got Jason Marquis, who was pulled out of starting against the Mets. There's the Diamondbacks. And then they also got Brad Ziegler from the Oakland Athletics, who's a side armor, a really good guy to have in your bullpen to get those right-handed hitters out or get a double play.
Vasquez, pretty good hitting pitcher, bounces one out for Reyes. And he throws out Vasquez 2 away.
You know, in the National League, there are a lot of strong candidates for Manager of the Year. It's not going to be really known until the season's played out. A lot of surprises. Clint Hurdle's got to be in consideration. I think Terry Collins. About the guy, our left-hand hitter for the Dodgers.
Kirk Gibson.
Kirk Gibson with Arizona. I saw Arizona. I didn't have the series. I watched it at home, and they looked terrible.
That's a long time ago.
Yes, it was.
How about the new manager for the Brewers if they hold on, Ron Renicky?
Yep.
Well, the Brewers have now opened up a 2.5-game lead. They've won 6 in a row, and it doesn't escape attention that they've been playing awfully well since K-Rod arrived.
They really have, although K-Rod led in the tying run last night, ended up getting the win when Prince Fielder drove in the go-ahead run. But have you seen Craig Counsell's numbers over there?
0 for 41, something like that?
More than 42 or 43.
Oh, might be time to just hang him up.
40 years old.
Yeah.
1-1 to Bonifacio, misses away, 2 balls and a strike. Well, you know, you've got a lot of opportunity. You've got a third of the season still to play, and the Mets are, you know, one of those teams who's kind of hanging around the fringes and looking forward to this weekend, a chance to go head-to-head with the Braves. And I thought it was really interesting. Sandy Alderson was talking to reporters before the game, and he was explaining why he didn't come to Washington this weekend when he was originally supposed to. And he said he was trying to make a deal to shore up the Mets bullpen, to be a buyer, not a seller.
Wow.
Well, this is an important first 2 weeks of August for the Metropolitans, that's for sure. And that road trip looming after San Diego to go to Arizona and San Diego, and then Philadelphia comes in. I mean, Milwaukee and Philadelphia.
Slot pass right and down the line, over quickly to get it is Bay, and he'll hold Bonifacio to a single.
Well, sooner or later in the course of the season, Gary, you got to play everybody, and it's just the way it's played out for the Mets in this schedule. This makes this first half of August critical.
Well, they've got a ton of home games, and clearly they haven't played as well at home as they have on the road, but it's a huge opportunity.
You know what's interesting is that you never hear managers really put a number on their season, but Terry Collins did today. He said, you know, if you want to win a wild card, you've got to be around that 90 mark, and that puts the Mets in a place where they have to go 35-19 down the stretch to get to that 90 mark.
That's 600 ball, correct?
Yep.
Bonifacio at first, a base stealer, and he just gets back. Very close. Tim Walke, the first base umpire.
Big lead.
He did get back.
Bonifacio, 24 steals, most of them since Jack McKeon took over as manager. He had been going station to station before that under Edwin Rodriguez. And Pelfrey has had trouble controlling the running game this year. 16 steals and 18 tries with Pelfrey on the mound.
It's certainly different for a right-handed first baseman Murphy than when you played, being the left-hander. But your slap tag goes where? Right in the front of the bag, right?
Yes, absolutely. Let him slide. If he gets out, he'll slide into your glove.
Poke the other way, and Infante's got another hit against Pelfrey. Bonifacio easily going first to third. Well, Pelfrey just can't get Infante out. That's 15 for 25 for Infante against Pelfrey.
And a slider off the plate went right with it. Flat slider, Ronnie.
Infante has over 400 at bats, only 29 base on balls. He's a guy that's going to swing the bat.
And it doesn't have to be in the strike
zone.
zone.
That's right.
And it sets the stage for the Met killer.
Well, this is a huge moment for Pelfrey right here, because the Mets offense the last few days has been a little flat. Probably can't afford to fall too much farther behind, and he's facing Sanchez, who's just been such a Met killer. Sacrifice fly drove in the first run. And he attacks that first pitch fastball and fouls it off.
Very interesting. Twice now he's come inside on the first pitch, and I think that's a good way to go. Problem with Sanchez, up and in works. He's got a tiny bit of a hole up and in. The ball down and in is not a good pitch. The sinking fastball down is not a good pitch against Sanchez.
He's a low ball hitter. Very crouched in his stance.
Ball and a strike to Sanchez.
I always felt for hitters, Keith, when they get in such a stance like that, that your first move is that your head would move. You'd have to make sure that you stay on that same level as you stride to the ball.
And they do, because the guys that threw hard, real hard, I had to get more crouched. You had to be more prepared, and I felt more that I can attack quickly from a crouch. And plus, it was a left-hander. You had to have the emergency stance. They would pull the ripcord, they'd knock you down.
It's like having your hand on the holster, ready to go.
Exactly. Very good. Good analogy there.
2-1 to Sanchez. And the breaking ball misses. And now Pelfrey behind 3-1 with Hanley Ramirez waiting on deck.
Gary, you just addressed it. You know, you don't give in to Sanchez here just because it's a 3-1 count. You make your quality pitch. Make sure, you know, the worst that happens is you walk him, but you don't throw one down the middle.
Molino sets up inside, and Sanchez fouls it off.
He just takes a big swing, Sanchez.
Lucky again that's up. Pitch up will beat him. Pitch down will not.
You see the big uppercut. Watch his back shoulder drop. And so look at the angle of the bat has to be the angle of the shoulders. I've always said that. That makes you vulnerable upstairs.
That ball was probably a little more over the plate than Pelfrey intended. So now he's gotten to 3-2. Infante will be on the move from first base. Bonifacio is at third. 3-2 to Sanchez. Line base hit. Now that'll bring home the second Florida run. Bonifacio scores. Infante goes to third. Gabby Sanchez comes through again. 3 straight 2-out hits for the Marlins, and it's 2-0 Florida.
Well, we talked about it. It's a hanging slider. And that's just right down the middle. And you listen to a nice swing put on it by Sanchez as Dan Warthen goes out to have a chat with Mike. You just wonder now his focus is on the sinker in the new arm slot, if it's going to affect his breaking pitch.
Affect it, and also give the opposition a heads up that it's coming. I don't think I really expressed it there, Gary. What I was trying to say is that you have to have a feel for what's going on in the game. You mentioned that the Mets have struggled to hit. 3-1 count to Sanchez. You have to throw a quality pitch. The worst that happens is you walk him. Now, I know Ramirez, you never want to face him with the bases loaded, but this isn't the Ramirez of a couple seasons ago. Sanchez is.
No.
He got Ramirez to ground out to second on the first pitch in the opening inning.
Ramirez got into bad habits after he won the batting champion all last year. A big long swing now. And that's why he's been having troubles.
But even last year, in a bad year, he hit 300. This year, struggling to hit 240. Yep. There's your IOTV pitch differential on the pitch to Sanchez.
Oh, that's a nice one to hit right there. Hanley is so strong. See the pipes on him, jeez.
Popped it up and foul ground. Murphy coming over right to the railing. Arm's not long enough. Good effort by Murph.
Hanley's swinging at everything. And there you see his numbers. Outstanding with men on base. But it's just too long a swing. I mean, a guy like Pelfrey, who's going to throw you a sinker in, you can look area. And I just think he's just trying to cover the whole play. Doesn't have any purpose up there, any strategy that he has going in. He wants to swing freely.
Well, he's hit as many as 30 home runs in the season. He's only got 10 this year. Behind in the count 0-2 now. And Pelfrey works him away with a fastball, 1-2.
I always thought Keith would made Hanley difficult in his not heyday, but when he was hitting 330 and above. was that he was content to take that RBI by hitting the ball the other way, much like Manny Ramirez in his day.
He stands way away from the plate, too. You can notice when you have the camera behind home plate. And he always stands there, and he can still cover the outside corner. So it seems to me it'd be hard to get inside.
Fouls off the breaking ball.
Particularly if he doesn't chase for the bad one inside.
Well, he showed his numbers before about his situational hitting, and he's gotten better as the situation has become more precarious, and that's been pretty consistent whether he's been in his good seasons or his not so good seasons. He is a tough hitter with men on base.
Doesn't clean that helmet.
I don't think that affects your hitting, does it?
No, definitely not.
Might be carrying a little extra weight around the bases.
Seal up those holes in the top of your head there, though. You can't get any air in there.
Again, the 1-2. Outside. Well, when you played, did the helmets even have any vents?
No. Mr. Samuels was our clubhouse man, and that one of his quirks was all the helmets had to be clean. He cleaned the helmets himself. Right. They were always spotless, the helmets.
This will be the 27th pitch of the inning from Pelfrey. And it's on the outside corner. He gets Ramirez looking. And Hanley knew it. First strikeout of the night for Pelfrey, but 3 straight 2-out hits produce a run. Gabby Sanchez drives in another. It's 2-0. Then catch a game in the SNY Suite at Citi Field on Thursday, September 1st. And that's a month from today. Plus, you'll be featured in a segment on Mets Weekly. All proceeds benefit the high school basketball team scheduled to play in the 2012 SNY Invitational. Just go to sny.tv/charity auction and bid today. Mets down 2-0 as they come to bat in the home third. Jose Reyes popped to short his first time up. Reyes just 6 for 31 over his last 8 games. First little lull that he's hit in a long time.
It's hard to hit 350. Not easy.
See, since he's come back from the disabled list a couple of weeks, not quite what he had been doing before. Justin Turner on deck, then Daniel Murphy with the Mets down by a couple as they bat in the third. Facing Javier Vasquez for the second time this year. And Reyes pops one up. Seen a lot more of that lately from Jose. And Infante squeezes it one away.
Well, what's the phrase that they use now? Strike zone recognition. what it's a fancy phrase for is that Jose's swinging the balls out of the strike zone right now, and that's been the whole difference why he's gone into just a mini slump.
Hey, he hit for 4 months. That's not easy.
Oh boy, he was red hot. I've never seen anyone like it.
It's hard to have 6 months of 300 ball. It's just difficult. He will break out of this slump, but if that's the only one he gets into this year, boy, oh boy.
Justin Turner takes a strike.
When you hit 344, did you have a bad month?
I had 230 in April.
Oh, you did.
And then the next year, in 1980, when I lost the batting title to Buckner the last day of the season by a point, I hit 300 every month. And that was the end of that. Because then Ted Simmons got traded, and I had Ted Simmons was no longer hitting behind me, and I was all established myself. So when they fell behind me, they would come after me. They didn't want any part of Ted Simmons.
Yeah.
And then when you become established, they start pitching it differently, more carefully.
So you were sneak attacking them early.
Well, not exactly. I was pretty good those 2 years. Let me tell you, I hit some wicked pitches.
Vasquez ahead on Turner, 1-2. And he jams him. Well, the Mets had a 4-game stretch. Last 3 in Cincinnati, first one in Washington, where they scored 8 or more runs every game. But the last 3 days, not quite so easy. Shutout on Saturday. Got the 2 home runs by Hairston and nothing more yesterday, and blanked so far tonight. And Turner almost took out Murphy in the on-deck circle.
Well, with the ball this time in yesterday's game, almost with the bat.
Murphy's always in the middle of the action. By the way, I meant to ask both of you guys, what did you make of the post-game conversation about the play when Murphy got tagged out yesterday, where it seemed as though Terry Collins went out of his way to exonerate Murph? Little ground ball past the mound from Turner, and Ramirez guns him down 2 away.
Well, I saw the play, and Neese did walk home. And Daniel, I'll give Daniel credit. He said he put his head down. There he is right there in the top right of your screen. He's tagging up. Now, he's got to look at Neese. He's got to look at Neese. Neese bluffed down and get back to the bag. I mean, you just can't put your head down. To Daniel's credit, he said, I got to run with my head up. Yes, he had his head. He wasn't looking at the play. It was a very bad base running play. I disagree with the coaching staff.
Well, I think it was a diversionary tactic, to tell you the truth. I think Jonathan Neese fell on his sword, and I don't think he had to. The ball was too shallow with Jason Worth in the right field, and you do not send your pitcher to try to score on a fly ball and give a chance that it's going to be a bang-bang play, get someone hurt.
Murph, meanwhile, continues to rake. He's 2 for 2 tonight.
So that's my take on it. It was a base running blunder, and it cost the Mets the ball game.
Yeah, I went back and watched it today after what Terry said yesterday, because I was a little confused, and the fact that he took off from first base. I mean, if your goal is to force them to cut it off to get in a rundown, which is what Terry said, you have to be watching what's going on at third base, and he never looked at anything until he got halfway to second.
And he has to know that the second baseman was coming around to cover first base behind him. He was tagging up.
Here's David Wright with Murphy at first and 2 out. Vasquez pitched it very carefully first time up. This time a check swing grounder, and Wright gets himself out. The inning is over. So the Mets have managed just a hit in each inning against Vasquez, and they're down 2-0 after 3.
Daniel Murphy collect another hit, and every game he's in the middle of the conversation in some way, whether it's his offense, which has been great, or the other parts of the game, which Terry has talked about seemingly every day. And I talked to Terry Collins today, and I asked him, going forward next year, and I know you want to focus on this year, but where does Daniel Murphy fit in with this team? And certainly there's a long way to go. And he said, well, right now, if we are healthy and if the shortstop Jose Reyes is back, which is obviously a huge if, you know, there's two places Daniel Murphy can be, the outfield or second base. And Sandy said this is all just kind of throwing it out there right now. Obviously, I'd have to have conversations with Sandy and things like that. But really what would have to happen is, you know, I wouldn't send him to Winter Bowl. He's going to have 500 at-bats. But whatever position would work, he's going to have to take the winter off, I would tell him, and then come early to January, very early to Port St. Lucie. And then we want to do not just drills with him, but get him game-type drills, speed of the game-type drills, and really focus on what it's going to take for him to play that position. Terry said, you know, I mean, with everything that happened in spring, and he started out playing second base, who knows? If he played the whole year, maybe he would, you know, be a second baseman by now, but he's not. That's certainly a big conversation they're going to have this offseason. Guys, back to you.
So my feeling of what game-type drills mean is that Murph has a propensity of throwing to the wrong base, taking the extra base offensively when he's on the base, making mistakes. The game-type drills are going to be people running as if it's a game. It's going to be, hey, second and third, or first and second, one out, Daniel, seventh inning, ball in the gap. You're going to play it like a real game. And you're going to have people running hard.
Logan Morrison takes one up the middle, a leadoff hit off Pelfrey in the fourth inning. Well, here's the thing, though. When you look at what has plagued Murphy on the bases and in the field, there's one common denominator. They're almost all mistakes of aggression.
Yes.
And sometimes those pay off for him, like the play he made yesterday on the bunt.
Yes.
Everything is at 100% speed. So when you have a player like that, is there a way for him to slow down? Is there a way to get him to take a deep breath and maybe not be pedal to the metal all the time?
I'm concerned, Gary, that he's not full speed like that, that he makes up his mind aggressively, and that's his nature, and he's going to do that all the time. I question his baseball instincts. That's what I question. Does he have the baseball instincts? And he hasn't shown that in spades.
Well, there's an old saying in baseball, if you can hit, they'll find a place for you.
Yeah.
So the question is, how do you make the most of this player who's, you know, having a tremendous offensive year?
Well, Keith made a great point there, and it's almost like, how would you call it? Like having a premeditated, intelligent aggression. And that way, like what Keith said, if he's playing second base in these drills that they do in spring training, Murph, you're in at double play depth, bases are loaded. What if I hit a small chopper to you? What are you going to do? You come home. You know, almost rote learning the things that you have to do when the ball's hit to you. It's hard to do.
Now, you know, I like Daniel a lot, and he works hard. He's a guy that you want in the foxhole with you, because he comes to the park every day. He hustles. He plays hard. He's very conscientious. He's a team player.
Yeah.
And you like having those guys. So I'm going to temper that. I don't want to feel like I'm just burying him here, but his instincts aren't good. He makes too many mistakes and almost on a day-to-day basis.
But just to play devil's advocate, 2 years ago, we said the same thing about Angel Pagan. And then last year, Angel came back, and virtually all those mistakes seemed to be eliminated. So it's possible,
sure,
is it not, for a guy who doesn't necessarily have the greatest baseball instincts to learn? No?
A lot of stuff has to be split-second decision-making, Gear, and that's where baseball instincts come in. You anticipate things happening. It's not, okay, I'm on first base, the ball hits in the gap, I know I got to try to score from first. It's the play that happens that's unique and different, where it's not regimental, like, okay, 1, 2, 3, like drills, and you have to make that snap decision. And a lot of guys don't have that. And the guys that are good, Jeter for one, has great baseball instincts. I think Jason Bay has tremendous baseball instincts. He runs the bases well. He knows how to play the outfield, throws to the right base. He's ahead of the game. And if something happens that's different, that he has to make a snap decision, he makes the right decision. He's able to make that on standing on his feet. And a lot of guys don't. They can't do that.
Stanton grounds one down to third. Right allowed to hurry to turn 2, and he throws it away. Morrison goes to third. Due to having trouble picking it up, finally slings it back in, and the Marlins have runners at second and third.
Well, Gary, in Florida, remember we talked about all David's 52% of David's errors in his career are throwing, and that's the sidearm throw. And that when you throw sidearm, that was like Hojo threw.
Yeah.
And your ball will run. And here, watch him. When you throw sidearm, it's going to run towards first base, and it's also going to run your second baseman into a slide and get him killed. You've got to come over the top and throw over the top like a quarterback throwing a little button hook over the middle.
So the Marlins have runners at second and third with nobody out. Mets are back at second and short. Ryan Peterson, the batter, grounded into a double play his first trip, and he takes high from Pelfrey. So a single and an error put Pelfrey in jeopardy in the fourth, with the Mets already down 2-0. Morrison at third and Stanton at second. And it's 2-0 to Peterson, with John Buck, who has a grand slam this year off Pelfrey, waiting on deck.
You know, when you watch a team every day, there's always a kind of a theme to a season. For the Mets offensively, their ability to score with 2 outs. Defensively, their inability all season long to turn what should be the routine double play.
Well, when that ball was first hit, the ball was hit slowly enough that Stanton, who has, average to slightly above average speed, I think Wright knew that he was going to have to hurry if he wanted to turn 2.
Well, there's a hurrying, but remember that Stanton might run well, Gary, but he has a big, huge swing, so he gets caught in that box. So, yeah, you can rush it, but the key is always, and David knows that more than I know it, of course, is can't get to it unless you get the first one.
A lot of it's footwork too, Garrett, and balls that are hit slowly to you. It's all about getting it out of your glove and throwing it as fast as you can and accurately as you can. Once it's out of your hand, whether you turn 2 or not, it's out of your hands. I mean, everything's fine here except he throws sidearm.
So now Pelfrey's worked his way back to 2-2 against Peterson. Pelfrey not a strikeout pitcher, but he could sure use one right now. Molino sets up inside, and Peterson turns away. 3-2.
Boy, Peterson's only driven in 1 run this year. Jeez.
1 for 8 with runners in scoring position in 50 overall at bats. Pelfrey already up to 72 pitches with nobody out in the fourth. Remember, he threw only 108 in a complete game his last time out. Big difference. And Peterson hits one out to center field. Morrison tags at third. Pagan hesitates, then throws toward third as the run comes home, and it's 3-0 Florida. So Pagan unsure what to do with the ball after he caught it. Peterson drives it his second run.
He's got to throw home, Gary. It wasn't that deep. He's going to make sure you hit the cutoff man. He's got to come up throwing and hit the cutoff man. That ball wasn't deep enough. He at least challenged.
Oh, Keith, the reason you throw home there, one, you challenge the runner. What happens if Morrison falls or loses his step? You have a chance at home. And secondly, even more important, you throw home to the cutoff man. Maybe Stanton does something silly and tries to gets cut off second base.
So Stanton's still there with 1 out. 3-0 Florida. And now John Buck, who had a deep fly ball to right his first time. I'd be surprised they're pitching to him here.
Yeah, with first base open.
I mean, this is a guy who hit a grand slam out to right center against Pelfrey on opening day, and he hit the ball well his first time up tonight.
Well, the only thing that might stop this, and you mentioned it before, Gary, Vasquez really handles the bat very well.
Although if you walk Buck, they're probably going to bunt with Vasquez anyway. And Buck hits one out to center field and deep. Back goes Pagan, gets turned around but finds it and makes the grab. Stanton
didn't
Went
know.
back to the bag a little late, and so he'll stay right there.
Stanton didn't know what to do. He did not know what to do. Here you go. Now, not sure where he's going to catch it. Pretty good. Don't go back. No. Now this. Now it's too late.
Well, you were talking about instincts before. Is that part of what you're talking about?
You got 9 years to read that play. It's a deep fly ball. You got 9 years to go halfway down the line. If the ball drops, you're halfway down the line. You walk home, number one. If he catches it, and you can get back. If you read it halfway, as he did because the ball was so high when Pagan camped under it, then you've got time because you're halfway to go back and tag up. So it's a matter of a read. And then you go to third, and now Pelfrey has to worry about throwing a split finger in the dirt and a wild pitch or a pass ball scores a run. You can't go back and forth.
So what you're saying is that he didn't go far enough the first time, then he went further, and that took away the opportunity to come back and tag.
He went back and forth. Get out there. You're halfway and the ball drops, you walk home. You walk home. The ball's deep center field. You don't play ping pong out there.
2-0 to Vasquez. Yeah, there's a strike.
God, get away for 3 days and look. Now, just hold. No, see, he took his eye off the ball too. See, he took his eye off the ball. Now he doesn't. He misses Pagan getting under it. You keep your eyes on the center fielder.
Vasquez, it's one foul.
Well, let me ask you a question, Keith. Could Pagan's initial circuitous route to that baseball have fooled Stanton because he got turned around a couple times?
But okay, fine. It's a high fly ball. You're still halfway. You hold and keep reading, and then see if he recovers. And then you read that it recovers. You bust back to the bag and tag up. He took his eye off the ball completely when Pagan made the circle, and now he's under it. He was looking to third base and didn't see that. It's too late.
2-2 to Vasquez, and he pokes one to second base. Turner's got it, and that retires the side. An unearned run for the Marlins in the fourth, and they lead it 3-0. News and original video. Visit Facebook and like SNY today. Mike Stanton getting together with third base coach Joe Espada after that inning was over.
Well, he's telling him that will he retain, we don't know. And that's why it's important. I always knew when a third base coach of a ball said halfway, I knew it halfway in.
Yeah.
You know, you might have to be vocal as a third base coach. You should be vocal.
Angel Pagan leads off in the bottom of the fourth. Pagan, Bay, and Duda against Javier Vasquez, who now has a 3-0 lead. Pagan grounded into a fielder's choice his first time up.
It's been an interesting inning for Vasquez. If you're the hitters, going to be ready for him pumping that fastball in first pitch with this 3-run lead.
Now the 0-2, and Pagan pops one foul. Javier Vasquez got off to a very difficult start this year. Look at those numbers: 3-7, 6.95. But his last 7 starts, they say he's using his lower body in his delivery a lot more.
He is. He's when we saw him in that first series, as Randy St. Clair, the pitching coach, he was not at all really standing up straight, kind of just using all arm.
Little tapper, and Vasquez off the mound. And who does that remind you of? A guy we saw a couple of years ago in spring training using just his upper body, and now using his lower body more and having great success. Freddie Garcia.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, what happened to Freddie is that he was still battling a not broken arm, but a hurt arm, and he was just trying to find that arm slot where it didn't give him any pain. Now that he's out of pain and pushing off with his legs, he's having a pretty outstanding season over there for the Yankees.
There's Jason Bay, who flied to left his first trip, and he takes the fastball for a strike. So Vasquez doing exactly what you said, Ronnie.
Yeah.
With the lead, just pumping in that first pitch fastball. Did it to Pagan, does it to Bay, and this is a Mets team that is really conditioned to trying to work counts, and you can get ahead of them.
Well, you got to understand that a guy like Vasquez, who throws strikes, is a guy that, if you're paying attention, just jump on that first pitch. Oh, threw that ball right by him. 92. He just got beat badly right there. I can't figure it out. I don't understand.
He cracks this one deep to right center field. Back goes Stanton deep in the gap. It's over his head and it's out of here. Jason Bay goes to the deepest part of the ballpark for his 7th home run of the year. And the Mets are on the board. It's 3-1.
High pitch, high and away, mistake. It's outside corner, but it's high. And Jason's a high ball hitter. And I tell you what, that's impressive power. Heading the count, this is not the pitch he wanted to make. Well, he had hardly any hip movement in that swing, and it was all arms.
And he hit it 415 feet.
Yep.
You know, I'll tell you, sometimes when you're a veteran pitcher, you get beat by watching the bat. He threw a fastball right by him. He said, I can try another one in the same area, even though it was elevated. And Jason Bay did not want to be beat that time.
But when you see Bay on a swing like that hit the ball that far, you remember that this is a guy who hit 30 home runs every year.
Routinely hit it that far.
And you don't do that without having special power. And Bay hit it to a spot which is difficult enough to reach in this ballpark.
Well, watch, he hasn't got a bunch of hips into this. It's just all upper body.
What did they say, Keith? That he tomahawked it, didn't he?
He did.
17th home run that Vasquez has given up this year. And Duda fouls the curveball into the dirt. Duda flied to center his first time up. Now, this Mets team that has thrived on walks and stringing together hits, the only runs they've scored in the last 3 games on 3 solo home runs, 2 by Hairston yesterday, and now Bay goes deep. Ronnie Polino on deck. And Duda smacks one right at the shortstop. Ramirez throws him out, 2 away. Now Polino singled to left his first time up. He's got some fine numbers against Vasquez. Now 6 hits and 13 career at bats. For Jason Bay, that was his first home run in nearly 4 weeks. Last time he hit one was that game at Dodger Stadium on July the 5th when he hit 2. Doing out of Polino. Well, for Bay now, over the last 5 games, 9 hits and 18 at bats, 5 RBIs, 4 extra base hits in those 5 games. And there's the curveball to Polino. 1-2.
Took something off that curve, Ronnie. Nice late break.
No, I've said it before. 2,400, more than 2,400 strikeouts coming into this game. Many of them on that sharp breaking curve.
Boy, Paulino's front foot, he's got it angled back towards the on-deck circle, the Mets dugout, even more so.
What does that keep? The stay closed? Is that why he does it?
I guess so, but it's an over accentuation, that's for sure.
2-2. Fouls off the fastball. Love that shot. Really gives you a sense of the ballpark.
Gives you a sense of the pitcher and the hitter. Love it.
Remember the first ever Sports Illustrated cover, the one with Eddie Matthews? Shot from that low angle.
That's the same angle, Keith, you get when you're on the on-deck circle just about, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just beautiful.
Also a great angle you get at court number 1, I believe, at Wimbledon. That front row. You're like calf level of the players on that court. That was fun to watch, that tennis match there.
You sat there, huh?
Yes, I did. That's when first year I was retired, I went over there, and when Agassi won it, his first one. I guess it was his only one, but I'm not sure.
9th pitch of the at bat to Polino, and he fouls off another one.
I know your royalty here. I know you have some pull in the States. I didn't know you had pull across the pond.
Well, actually, I went over with Bobby Zarum, and he had all the pull. And Johnny Mack left me a few some seats too.
Polino lines one to center, and Peterson snags it to end the inning. Well, if you don't have the pull, you got to know the person with the pull. Going to hang out in the right neighborhood. Jason Bay finding a neighborhood that right-hand hitters rarely find in this ballpark as he drives one over the wall in right center for his 7th. 3-1 Florida after 4. City Field. They honor a member of the military, but today's something extra special. This soldier's family was invited to the game. They weren't told that he was going to be here, and he was brought home from overseas, and the reaction was just so heartwarming.
It was a wonderful moment.
Serious goosebumps. Whew.
Very nice.
Hernandez.
Yes.
MP.
Right. Getting interviewed right there. Oh, that's the with the Marlins broadcast team.
Greg Minervini, who works on Marlins TV. He's their Kevin Burkhardt.
Yeah. No one's Kevin Burkhardt. Come on now.
I know. Okay. Emilio Bonifacio tries to bunt his way on as we start the 5th inning. Bonifacio had a 2-out hit in the 3rd and came around to score. He's 1 for 2. Bonifacio had a 26-game hitting streak stopped on Friday, the 2nd longest streak in Marlins history. Only Luis Castillo had a longer one, 35 games. Emilio Bonifacio unleashed by Jack McKeon. It's probably the most important thing Jack has done since taking over Florida.
It's amazing, isn't it, in this game that you could be in one manager's doghouse, there's a change, and all of a sudden you're elevated to a #1 guy. You know, Jack knew that this team needed some speed, needed some energy, and Bonifacio surely provides that.
Oh, and they can play him just about anywhere. He's that Tony Phillips type. Can play anywhere on the
there
field.
You go. That's a good call.
That's a blast from the past. Good call.
Remember, he had that catch in right field. No, it was a base hit to right field, threw behind Tolley at first base in that first series in Florida.
Full count to Bonifacio. We've seen him play center field. He does that pretty well. Omar Infante on deck. Gabby Sanchez behind him with the Marlins up 3-1 in the 5th. Well, in Washington, Rick Ankiel has hit 2 home runs tonight off Jair Jurgens, and the Nats are up 3-1 on the Braves.
Inspired by his base running yesterday afternoon.
And also tonight in Pittsburgh, you see that run for the Pirates? Derek Lee home run in his first game. I guess it was a great move. Hit hard. Reyes with an unbelievable stop, and he throws out Bonifacio. How'd he do that? That is just fabulous.
That ball's behind him.
That's a heck of a play right there. And that's just pure reaction and agility. Just beautiful. Watch him get up, and of course the whip. A fast runner here. He has got no time to dilly-dally, and he doesn't. And that great arm. What a play.
There's no dilly or dally in his repertoire.
No.
So one spectacular out. Here's Omar Infante thinking about a bunt. Why would he bunt against Pelfrey? He's 15 for 25 against him now with a triple and a single tonight. What do you do, Ronnie, when you just can't get a guy out?
It's one of the weird things. I've faced some outstanding hitters where you have their number and you can't figure out how they can't get a hit against you, and then the other way with some hitters who maybe aren't so good.
Well, here's a hard line drive, but it's an out. So Pelfrey's given up 2 bullets here in the 5th inning, and he's gotten a couple of outs. So 2 out and nobody on. Gabby Sanchez coming up. Speaking of Met killers, let's check in with Kevin.
Well, you know, guys, you talked a lot about Terry Collins' comments today about the Mets being at home, and he felt that their swing got very big here at home, almost trying to prove that you could hit it out of here a little bit. And, you know, I talked to Gabby Sanchez about coming in here as a visitor and his approach, and he said, you know, I can only speak for me, but I don't think about hitting home runs here at all. I mean, I know this place has big gaps, and, you know, we play at a big park too, but the ball seems to carry a little bit at that park. Here, I never feel like it really carries. So I look at the gaps, I think about that, and I just really have the opposite approach about a big swing. I mean, I have a big swing as it is. I just go out and have my same approach. And Keith, that got me thinking, you know, as a guy that plays here every day, you know, we saw it, I guess, a little bit with David Wright a couple years ago. Would that be something that would maybe get to you and get in your head a little bit more than a guy who only comes in for a 3-game weekend series like a Mark Reynolds who came in and just was unaffected by the whole thing?
Well, I think, Kev, the big adjustment was they found out in a hurry that the ball didn't get out to right center field like it did at Shea. And I think David Wright coming over here in particular was a little slow adjusting and had some difficulty and then got in his head. You know, as a visiting player, I went to the Dome. I never thought home run. I didn't think home run very much in any ballpark, but you certainly went into Wrigley with the wind blowing out. You would think of it, Ronnie. Ball carried in Pittsburgh, ball carried in Cincinnati. But every time when I went into San Diego and Houston at the Dome, ball 4, I was hitting line drives. And you don't alter your swing, Kev. You stay with the same swing. You just concentrate more on hitting line drives and hitting the ball, like Gabby said, into the gaps.
But how do you as a team get away from what Terry was talking about? That tendency, and it's obviously subliminal as much as anything else, to take a little bigger swing, try and pull the ball more when you're playing in a pitcher's park.
Well, precisely what you said earlier about David Wright's BP this afternoon. Before the game, David was working the opposite field. He worked up the middle.
Here's Hanley Ramirez is 0 for 2. Ground ball and a strikeout.
I do tend to think that sometimes home and away records tend to be happenstance at times. But over the course of the season, when you get behind the 8 ball and you haven't played well at home, sometimes there's a feeling as though, hey, you got to push a little bit. Let's play a little harder, do some things that we don't usually do. That sometimes will not allow you to succeed.
Sanchez runs. Polino's throw. Safe. Gabby Sanchez, only his 2nd stolen base of the year, as he got a huge jump on Pelfrey, who paid him no mind.
Well, controlling the running game is so important. Can't do any more than Ronnie Polino did right there. And that sweep tag by Turner looks to me like it was a little late, and Sanchez just got his left hand in there. You know, these are the stolen bases that really should not happen. A guy able to doesn't have great speed and puts himself in a position to score.
Oh, Ramirez hits it out to center. Easy for Pagan. And that retires the side. So Pelfrey issues his first walk, gives up a steal, but he gets Ramirez for the 3rd straight time. Each time it's ended an inning. Reyes will have a turn at bat as we go to the bottom of the 5th. He could not have contributed more than he did with that play, robbing Bonifacio, keeping it 3-1 Florida. Bottom of the 5th inning, Mike Pelfrey will stay in to bat. against Javier Vasquez. Pelfrey hit a long fly ball to center field his first time up, sending Peterson back to the warning track to make a good catch. Mike has thrown 99 pitches through 5 innings, but Terry Collins wants to stick with him for one more, and so he does get the turn at bat. Ball and a strike. Reyes and Turner to follow as the Mets try and come from behind. They got a home run from Jason Bay in the 4th inning. Now Vasquez is pitching Pelfrey like he's a hitter.
He doesn't want to give up another bullet. Probably get another breaking ball here also.
And the curveball lifted to center field. And Peterson with an easier play this time. One away. Let's answer our AT&T trivia question. We asked you who was the only Met to hit 350 in a season. Of course, it was John Olerud.
Yes. He was quite a hitter.
Well, you were talking before, Gary, about hitters owning pitchers. Could not get John Olerud out. He did not swing at any pitches out of the strike zone. And every time he threw a strike, he hit a bullet somewhere.
You had a lot of company, by the way.
Yeah.
He nearly hit 400 one year in Toronto. There's Reyes is 0 for 2, and he takes the changeup high. Of course, Olerud in '98 hit 354, but like every other Met before him and after him, didn't win a batting title. Something Jose Reyes is trying to do this year. And he rips one toward the right field corner. Stanton's not going to get there, and it lands for a hit. He does a nice job cutting it off. Reyes trying for 2 and dives in safely with a double.
This is what Jose's been doing, why he's been a little bit struggling. A little bit off the end of the bat, Gary. He's been a little bit too quick. That was a pitch. If he had waited a split second longer, he might have hit out of the ballpark. He's feeling a lot of balls off the end of his bat. It's just a little bit too quick. See, he's reaching for it. That ball was down the middle. He's hitting it way out in front of the plate, which means his timing is a little bit off.
26th double, 46th extra base hit of the season for Reyes. So he's in scoring position with 1 out for Turner, who's fly to center and bounced to short 0 for 2. Interesting what teams have begun to do defensively against Turner. Take that first baseman way off the line and play him over in the hole.
Well, we've been ranting about it, not ranting, but I mean, you can see Gabby Sanchez right here. And you got to protect Reyes, so you got to keep Reyes close. So the Marlins are opting for Infante at second base to hold Reyes. I'd be more inclined to let Ramirez hold him.
Stopped on a hop by Buck. The ball and a strike. Turner hitting 352 with runners in scoring position. Trying to get Reyes around with 1 out. It's amazing, isn't it? That's runners in scoring position average so much higher on the road. And that might speak to what Terry was talking about. Just trying to pull the ball a little too much. Terry said he looked at the spray charts. You know, they usually do spray charts in the opposition, but there's self-scouting too. And it's what they found over and over from play, not just from one player, but from really the entire club, is that at home, many more of the batted balls were being pulled by Mets hitters.
So it may be unconsciously the thought in the back of the hitters' heads, you know, hit the ball out of here, I got to pull it down the line.
Well, let me ask you this, though, Ronnie. Is it possible that part of that is a result of how opposing pitchers pitch in this ballpark?
We've already seen Vasquez do it, Gary, and that is when you get behind and you have a little bit of a lead. Here's a fastball in the outer part. Hit it to center field or left field. It's too deep here. Yeah, absolutely. That's the way you can pitch in this ballpark.
2-2 to Turner with Murphy on deck. And Vasquez takes a look at Reyes.
I certainly wouldn't have been a candidate because I didn't always have the best control. But if you've got a control artist out there, you should go lots of games here without issuing a walk. There's no need to.
Now the 2-2 and the curveball pulled foul. The Nationals have added a run. They lead the Braves 4-1 in the bottom of the 6th. That started the night 7.5 behind Atlanta in the wild card race, with 3 other teams in front of them. Turner the tying run at the plate in a 3-1 game. And he lines one the other way for a base hit. Reyes to third. He's being waved around. Here comes Stanton's throw to the plate. He might get him. And Buck tags Reyes out. Wow. A seed from right field thrown by Mike Stanton. And Reyes is gunned down.
Well, how many times do you see Jose Reyes thrown out by a mile? A lot of this has to do with outfield positioning. That's a great throw and a powerful throw. Where's the on-deck batter not getting the bat out of the way of the runner? See how close. What's that bat doing there?
Interesting to see how Buck turned his shoulder, almost waiting for Reyes to run into him, which he never did.
Well, the fact that Turner, they can play Turner in, he hits line drives to right field, doesn't have the power, that enabled the outfielder Stanton to make the throw from short right. But that was a cannon in there. It's just, you never see Jose thrown out that easily.
That's the second out of the inning. Turner at first, and now Murphy is 2 for 2, and he laces one the other way. Over toward the line goes Morrison to grab it, and that ends the inning. Now the Mets get 2 hits and a few balls hard in the inning, but Mike Stanton keeps the Mets off the board with a perfect throw to get Jose Reyes at the plate. He's not even in the picture. Live Wheelhouse and Loudmouths, all part of the New York Sports Local, weekdays starting at 5 on SNY. Logan Morrison leads off the 6th inning with the Marlins up 3-1. And Pelfrey's 100th pitch of the night is in for a strike. Morrison singled to center, scored a run in the 4th. Well, this is Chip Hale's 2nd year as Mets third base coach, and we have seen Chip make very few incorrect calls. I mean, occasionally you're going to get a guy thrown out on a close play, but I don't think we've ever seen in 2 years Chip get a guy thrown out by as much as Reyes was thrown out.
You know, there was a couple things working there. One, you come very used to, on any base hit, waving Reyes around because he just always scores. And secondly, you have an offense that's struggling to score, and maybe trying to be aggressive there and get the run in. Sometimes you don't factor in the athletic play of Stanton. That's about as good a throw as you'll see.
Well, you see Stanton right here playing very shallow. And he does a good job coming and getting in front. He also hits the cutoff man. It prevents Turner from advancing to second. And
I saw Chip drop his head when he saw what was happening. I think what you said is right, Ronnie. I think when you have a guy like Reyes and you're a third base coach, you just assume he can beat anybody's throw home.
Yeah, just you know, you can't account for a great athletic play. That's what Stanton had. I know he's had a great arm. I didn't know it was that accurate.
Stanton 1 for 2 today, and he lines one to left, but Bay moves over and grabs it. Well, that's a bullet off the bat of Stanton. Almost as hard as he threw the ball. So 2 out and nobody on. Let's check in with Gary Apple as a New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. I think we found another team other than the Mets that can beat Jurgens.
Jurgens, who has gotten off to an amazing start this year, Gary. But the last 3 or 4 starts, his fastball has been down 3 or 4 miles an hour. And here's a guy who's struggled with injuries the past couple of seasons.
Belfry's had a couple of slogging innings. That's why his pitch count is so high. Hasn't given up more than 1 run in any inning. One of the runs against him tonight unearned, so all things being equal, not a bad outing for Pelfrey, but just not nearly the quality of his outing his last time against the Reds.
It's all right. Have a quick outing here. You can get yourself into the 7th.
Peterson drove in a run with a sacrifice fly his last trip. He's also grounded into a double play, 0 for 1. Two and 2 now to Peterson. John Buck would be next. What a panorama. Ties him up.
Oh, that's a good pitch. Even from that angle, I know it's a good pitch. Let's see if I was right.
Brought it back a little bit. Close one to take.
Mike DeMuro, the home plate umpire, called it just inside. Now it's 3 and 2 to Peterson. And he walked him. So Pelfrey issues his second walk. He walked Sanchez with 2 out in the 5th. Now he walks Peterson with 2 out in the 6th. He didn't walk anybody in his last start. Terry Collins does not have anybody up in the bullpen, with Pelfrey at 109 pitches, confident he can get his way out of this 6th, although it looks like there's some stirring around down there now. Buck has hit 2 long fly balls in this game, 1 to right and 1 to center. And he fouls off the fastball, 0-1. Here's City probables for the remainder of the series. Battle of lefties tomorrow. Chris Capuano against the rookie Brad Hand. And then Wednesday night, Dylan G goes for his 11th win against Clay Hensley, who pitched so well in that makeup game here at Citi Field a couple of weeks ago.
He gave up 1 hit in 5 innings, didn't he?
His first start in a couple of years. There goes Peterson. Paulino from his knees, not nearly in time. So for the 2nd straight inning, Pelfrey just paying no attention to a runner who gets a huge jump.
Paulino can throw from his knee. This is a solid throw. He's got an arm right on the money, but just clearly in way before the throw.
2nd stolen base for Peterson. Ryota Igarashi up in the Mets bullpen. The Mets will now walk Buck intentionally with the pitcher on deck.
You know, I will say, though, with the stolen base now of Sanchez and of Peterson, and uncontested really at second base, the one by Peterson, is that if they're allowing Pelfrey to hold the runners close at first base, they're going to have to change it up a little. They're going to have to make sure that from the bench, Paulino gets some calls to throw over, hold the ball, do some things to stop the easy steals.
I mean, it's one thing if the Bonifacio steal bases against you, but when the Sanchez's and the Petersons, who are not big base stealers, are swiping them, that's just too easy. That's 18 steals now against Pelfrey, and they've only had 2 caught. So now the pitcher Vasquez comes up with 2 out and 2 on. Twice has grounded out tonight, but he's a lifetime 200+ hitter. Has a couple of RBIs this year, 6 hits. Pelfrey at 114 pitches for the night. And Vasquez breaks his bat, and it's a foul ball. We were talking about bats when we were in Cincinnati last week. How many bats do pitchers have?
Maybe 4, maybe 6. If you're Dwight Gooden, you have 6. If you're the last guy in the bullpen, you have 1. A lot of times you're borrowing someone's bat. I used to get maybe 4 to 6 a year.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. And they always send them the worst wood.
Oh, it's so bad.
So you couldn't be very discerning about your wood. You couldn't be like Ted Williams with the 5/1000ths of an inch on his grip.
When you would swing this bat, it would make the sound of a rolled up magazine when you hit the ball.
Well, you hit a couple of home runs.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good magazine right there.
Borrowed Keith's bat.
No.
Is that true?
No.
You're so gullible, Gary.
You never know. It could be true.
I wouldn't let Ryan touch my bat. He'd rub all the hits out of it.
Did you ever lend your bat to anybody?
Sure. Yeah, but not my gamer. If someone wanted to try my bat, they can pick one out of my excess bats out there and try them. Sure.
You had more than 4 bats.
I had always around 4 dozen when I started.
Here's the 0-2, and Vasquez fouls it off. Well, that was a lot of fun having the folks from the Louisville Slugger Museum in Cincinnati. Came over from Louisville. Brought Keith one of his models.
Right. And I was in the studio, so I got to watch it. I didn't have to make any comments, which was cool. But they renamed your bat, right? It used to be C something, right?
C271.
That's
they
right.
made an H2s, and I was really. It spooked me when they did that. I liked C271.
Yeah.
I had to get over that.
Again, the 0-2, and Vasquez down swinging. So Pelfrey finishes his stint with his 3rd strikeout. Good outing for Pelfrey. Now the Mets need to get him some runs. Watering sweet and smoky barbecued pulled pork sub on freshly baked bread. Subway, eat fresh for a limited time only. By Audi. And by Cholula Hot Sauce. Want the perfect balance of flavor and heat? Add Cholula Hot Sauce to your next meal. Just look for the iconic wooden cap.
What are we teaching our young people? A little run-on sentence there, wasn't it?
Javier Vasquez working with a 3-1 lead as we go to the bottom of the 6th. Wright, Pagan, and Bay will try and get it revved up for the Mets, who had a double from Reyes and a single from Turner in the 5th inning. But Reyes thrown out at the plate. Mets have had some base running misadventures over the last couple of days that have kept them off the board. And so all their runs the last 3 games have come on 3 solo home runs. Wright is 0 for 1. He walked in the first and a check swing tapper back to the mound in the 3rd. And David takes the breaking ball for a strike from Vasquez. David started the night with a 10-game hitting streak, all accomplished on the road after coming off the disabled list. Started in Florida weekend before last. Now returning to Citi Field, his first game at Citi Field since the 8th of May, nearly 3 months ago. David gets under one to right field, and Stanton coming to the line. 1 out. So the Marlins have their bullpen going. Burt Batenhop up, even though Vasquez has not yet thrown 80 pitches. Vasquez went 7 in his last start against Washington for 111 pitches in a victory. Gave up just 1 run in that game. Here's Pagan, who's 0 for 2. Now 0 for his last 13. And Angel strokes 1 foul. Ryota Igarashi up in the Mets bullpen. Pelfrey likely done after 6 innings. 119 pitches for Pelfrey. Gave up 2 earned runs tonight. But like R.A. Dickey in Washington night before last, that might be enough to beat him. A ball and a strike to Pagan. And Vasquez throws one in at the knees. 1-2. Stroke to first and grabbed by Sanchez. 2 out. So the Mets offense, which is number 1 in the league in walks, number 1 in the league in triples, number 3 in the league in doubles, 2nd in stolen bases, 2nd in on base percentage, 4th in runs scored, has had a little brownout the last few days.
Well, you know, Vasquez as the tonic, he's throwing every pitch for strikes, his fastball, changeup, and breaking pitches.
Jason Bay has accounted for the Mets' only run tonight with an opposite field home run.
Well, sometimes you throw the ball out of the strike zone and it doesn't work for you.
It is an unlikely space in which to hit a home run.
Oh, there it was. He was behind the count, too. And that's a deep part of the park. Right by that X and Xerox.
The first one or the last one? One and 2 now to Bay with 2 out and nobody on. Took out your Cholula flamethrower. High speed pitch. Mike Pelfrey is topped out at 95 tonight. Javier Vasquez at 92.
Pretty good at 2,700 plus innings. Still throwing 92.
And Bay taps one to third. Bonifacio with the overhand toss to get him. A 1-2-3 inning for Vasquez, his first of the night. After 6, 3-1 Florida.
What's been impressive about Igarashi is that since he's come back from Buffalo, he's controlling not only the curveball, but even more importantly, that split finger, which has become the predominant pitch for, or the dominant pitch for Igarashi, and his strikeouts have gone up. Last 4 2/3 innings, 5 punch-outs.
Yesterday, he came in with runners at first and third in the 6th inning behind John Deese and struck out Lance Nix and Jesus Flores. Very impressive by Igarashi. Here he'll face the top of the batting order for the Marlins. Bonifacio, Infante, and Sanchez. Pelfrey went 6 innings, allowed 3 runs, 2 of them earned on 6 hits, 3 walks, 1 intentional, 3 strikeouts, and he leaves on the short end. Bonifacio robbed of a hit his last time up, and he takes a strike. Looks like Javier Vasquez is done for the night. Looks a little shocked to get the handshake from Randy St. Clair, the pitching coach.
Cruising right along.
87 pitches in 6 innings for Vasquez.
That'd be hot.
And the lower third of the order coming up in the next inning.
Come on. I don't know if you're watching, Randy, but I'm throwing a gem out there.
It's not his decision. It's
yeah,
the skipper,
of course.
Huh?
Well, I don't know whether it's the 111 pitches in his last outing, maybe, I don't know, trying to protect Vasquez.
Good splitter by Igarashi, 1 and 2. Asked Terry Collins today about Igarashi. You know, Terry was in Japan when Igarashi was pitching there, when he was known as Rocket Boy, and Terry saw him blowing people away at 95 miles an hour and was as enthusiastic as anybody about the fact the Mets got him, and the fastball blows away Bonifacio for the first out. And the way he's been able to adapt his splitter lately makes you a little excited now about Igarashi.
Well, this is the most important, a fastball away. Now, good spot, but we didn't see a lot of bad swings on his fastball the last couple of times he's been up. That's what you're seeing now, is they're not on the splitter, and it certainly has put him behind that fastball.
0-1 out, and here's Infante, who has to be sad to see Pelfrey leave the game.
And he's not overthrowing the fastball, Ronnie.
There you
he's
go.
throwing
That's a good
strikes
point.
with it. You know, he was always trying to throw it through a brick wall.
I mean, the Mets had great hopes for Igarashi when they brought him over last year. Remember, they had Igarashi and Takahashi both come over, and it was Igarashi who they were the most excited about. Now, they got a really good year out of Takahashi last year. But Igarashi, through injury and not being able to throw his split properly, has never really shown the Mets what they expected in a year and a half. Well, maybe now's the time.
He got off hot in April until he pulled that hammy.
Last year.
Yeah, last year. And thank you, Gary. And he was fielding that bunt down the third baseline in Miami, and he never was the same after that when he came back off that injury.
Gabby Sanchez on deck. Infante's hit the ball hard 3 times in a row, 2 for 3.
Well, it's always a difficult adjustment when you come over from Japan. He might have talked himself back into the game. Nice.
Vasquez?
It's always a difficult adjustment when you come over from Japan. You're throwing with the larger American baseball. And Takahashi was always a control specialist, so it was easier for him. When you have a nickname, the Rocket Boy, sometimes you react by trying to throw harder.
Reyes with a nice backhand pickup. 1-hop throw, though, not in time to get Infante. Well, that was a great adjustment by Reyes on that ball that came up on him on the backhand. But Infante able to beat it at first.
Well, it's in between hop there, and then Reyes has to back up to get the longer hop. And that was the difference. It was a bang-bang play at first base. Throwing off balance, a quick plant. Oh, boy, that's close.
Well, this is a play you'd routinely see when there was a lot of AstroTurf, that 1-hop throw to first.
Tim Welke, the first base umpire, calling Infante safe with his 3rd hit of the night. And now Gabby Sanchez, and he takes a big rip and fouls the fastball back. Sanchez has driven in 2 of the 3 Florida runs with a sacrifice fly and a 2-out single. Last time up, he walked and stole a base. So he's hurt the Mets in a variety of ways tonight.
I didn't see all the games in Florida. Sanchez so hot. The Mets try to move him away from the plate at all?
No, of course not.
That would be the first reaction when a guy's this hot. Very comfortable.
Doesn't happen in today's game.
Well, also with Sanchez, it's not like he's right on top of the plate.
Yeah, but you could just send a message. Hey, listen, I know you're hitting well. I'm not throwing at you because you're hitting well, but just send you a little message that I'm tired of giving that base hit up with that ball in the outside corner of the plate.
How about Murphy's a 4-game series in Cincinnati, no one flipped him. I mean, he was wearing it out.
They throw at Justin Turner all the time.
That's right.
Bounce down to third, a foul ball.
He's been hit 7 times, hasn't he? Jeez.
Hit at the plate, hit at second base. He's taking more contact than the catchers.
That's all right. He's got big shoulders. He can take it. He's tough as nails.
And Ramirez on deck. He's ended 3 innings in this game. Tim Burdack up in the Mets bullpen with Logan Morrison 2 batters away. 1-2 for Igarashi, and Sanchez taps it down to first. Murph with the turn, out at second, return, 3-6-3 double play. Nicely handled. Started and finished by Daniel Murphy. Side retired. 7th inning stretch, 3-1 Florida. The Mets out 5-2 Washington in the 8th. They did that against Jair Jurgens. Matt Holliday, a 2-run homer in the first off Zach Greinke. Chris Carpenter on the mound, and the Cards are up 2-0 on the Brewers. St. Louis 2.5 behind Milwaukee. And CC Sabathia up 3-2 in the 4th, trying for his 16th win in Chicago. Lucas Duda leads off the 7th, and lo and behold, Javier Vasquez, after being given the dreaded handshake, apparently talked his way back into the game.
Nice job.
Well, let's see how he does. Mike Pelfrey back in the dugout. Curveball from Vasquez misses, 1-1. Duda 0 for 2 tonight. A fly ball and a ground out. He's now 0 for his last 13. Let's check in with Kevin.
Guys, Lucas Duda trying to fill Carlos Beltran's shoes, and today he filled Carlos Beltran's locker. Lucas came in and he had his nameplate over Beltran's old locker, which is in the corner back of the room. It's a huge locker, and he's got 2 lockers. So I went up to Lucas and I said, what? Went from a studio to the penthouse here? And he just kind of chuckled. He said, well, I figured my 2 months in the big leagues sure to earn me this. He has all this closet space. He said, I can't even fill up half a locker, let alone 2. Jason Isringhausen came by and said, what, you want Carlos's number next? Kind of snickered and walked away. Guys.
Well, Lucas himself can fill up a locker. He's a big guy, but maybe not his stuff. Randy Choate, the left-hander. Burke Badenhop, the right-hander, up in the Marlins bullpen. See, in the old Shea Stadium locker room, there weren't a lot of elite lockers. Now every locker seems to be elite.
When I came up in September, as Manny Acosta, I shared a locker with Mike Fitzgerald. I was happy to do it.
40-man roster. Duda breaks his bat as a sliver goes flying up the first base line. Less broken and more shaved.
See more shape, breaks. And if I ever had a bat that broke like that, I think I had balsa wood. It almost got hit Buck in the head on the backswing.
Goes to the authenticator. Here's the 3-2. Swing and a miss. Vasquez with the fastball strikes out Duda. That is the first strikeout of the night for Javier Vasquez.
Well, he poured in 3 fastballs away on Lucas, and Lucas didn't make contact.
In the game the Mets got shut out on Saturday in Washington, the starting pitcher Maya did not strike out a batter. Now you've got Vasquez, who's given up only 1 run tonight, and he didn't strike out anybody in the first 6 innings. Polino hits it out to right center field, and cutting across is Stanton to grab it, 2 out.
I tell you what, I've seen enough of Stanton now defensively in the outfield. He covers ground.
He's really improved.
He is not a liability out there.
It's 95 pitches. You know, it's lucky for the Marlins. Not lucky, but always at the home ball field is Andre Dawson. And he worked with Stanton a lot in spring training. And if you're going to learn from someone how to play the outfield, I think Andre Dawson is a good start.
Now Willie Harris pinch hitting. Batting for Igarashi, who gave the Mets a solid inning. Willie started yesterday at second base, at a bunt hit in 4 at bats. That's his only hit in his last 18 at bats. Trying to get Reyes to the plate here in the 7th. And Willie late on a fastball, and Vasquez, who talked his way back into this game, proving that he belongs.
He's throwing harder now than he was in the first inning.
He's throwing balls, a couple fastballs by people this inning.
Trying tonight for his 160th career victory. And the curveball pulled foul. 1-2.
It's interesting, isn't it, Keith, that you could be a pitcher who relies on his breaking pitches like Vasquez. He's thrown a lot of them in this game, and as he nears the finish line, goes back to his fastball again, surprising some of these Mets hitters.
Now the 1-2 to Harris, and that curve sits outside. 2-2. Vasquez about to throw his 100th pitch, and he bounces it. A full count to Harris.
He hasn't been getting his secondary pitches over. He's been getting by this inning with his fastball. He likes to get ahead, Ronnie, than nibble.
Yep. Well, Harris is going to get a fastball here. Reyes up next. 3-2 count. 2-run lead.
Three-two, fouled away. Well, the Mets got Reyes thrown out at the plate in the 5th inning on Turner's hit. They have not had another base runner since. And Harris goes down swinging. 2 strikeouts in the inning for Vasquez after he talked his way back in. He's retired 7 in a row. On to the 8th we go at Citi Field. 3-1 Marlins.
I don't think I've ever seen more.
Against rookie left-hander Brad Hand. Mets Marlins tomorrow. Coverage begins at 6:30 with Pepsi Max pregame live right here on SNY. Manny Acosta, sporting a new hairstyle, takes the mound for the 8th inning.
I like it, au natural. As you can see, Manny's numbers on the season. 19th game of the year. Home run ball has really been the problem for Manny this season.
You can see the right-handers have toasted him to a 368 clip. Manny came in on Saturday night, threw 3 pitches, got a double play line drive from Jason Worth. The only batter he faced. Hanley Ramirez leads off in the top of the 8th. Ramirez 0 for 3 against Pelfrey tonight. Ground out, strikeout, fly out. And he fouls off Acosta's fastball. Pelfrey went 6, allowed 3 runs, 2 of them earned on 6 hits. Ryota Igarashi gave up just an infield hit in the 7th and struck out 1. And now Acosta in the 8th. Hanley lines one the other way, a foul ball. Well, Javier Vasquez has already gotten the dreaded handshake once.
I think he's done here.
His catcher gave him one there.
He was happy to get that one more inning and prove that he deserved it, getting the side in order with a couple of punch outs. And Jack McKeon happy with Vasquez's effort again tonight. He's been pitching very well the last month and a half.
I just wouldn't want to hand over a 2-run lead to my bullpen. Would you, Ronnie? if you're throwing that good.
But he could throw pretty well, though, and Nunez has been rock solid this year.
And he's still here, by the way. There were a lot of questions about whether Leo Nunez would be traded at the deadline. And in fact, did you hear what they did to him yesterday after the game? When Nunez had finished saving his 30th game of the year, as Reyes plays that on the back end. And off the bag, and it gets by Murphy, and Hanley Ramirez is safe. Murph tried to come off the bag to get it, but didn't. And let's see if they slap a tag on Hanley just in case he made a turn here. And they're not going to bother.
Reyes comes sidearm like David, and that ball tailed into the runner.
Throwing error on Reyes, allowing Ramirez to reach. Anyway, Nunez got the save yesterday when the clubhouse. Jack McKeon called him to his office, said, I'd like to thank you for all your hard work. We've traded you to the Chicago Cubs.
That's harsh.
He said, and Nunez's reaction was, the Cubs?
That's harsh.
And then they told him the truth. That's just a joke. He got punked. Got punked by Jack McKeon. That's pretty good, right?
Right.
There's Logan Morrison.
I remember that line.
Jack more of the candid camera generation more than punked.
Derwin Kirby. Alan Funt.
Whitey Herzog saying, we've just traded you, Keith. I go, where? He goes, to the Mets. And I said, the Mets?
Except he wasn't kidding. Morrison gets under one. And Pagan is right there. One away. Ramirez back to first. Let's check in with the studio. Gary Apple standing by with the New York State Smokers quit line game break. Nice job by Gary. That is one of the more unpronounceable names in baseball. Seth Smith.
Yeah. That's why we let you handle it.
You really have to say it slowly. Here's Mike Stanton with 1 out and 1 on. Stanton 1 for 3, singled back in the second, and a bullet line drive that Bay caught his last time up. And also has contributed a laser beam throw from right field to throw out Reyes at the plate in the 5th inning.
Well, what a big play that is right now, huh?
Well, Reyes has also turned into a defensive gem tonight. A diving grab he made on Bonifacio back in the 5th inning. Ramirez with 19 steals this year, but he's also been caught 10 times, which is the most that anybody's been caught in the National League. particularly good stolen base percentage. There goes Ramirez, and Molino can't find the handle. And Ramirez has a stolen base, his 20th of the year.
And a good spot to steal here.
You know, what the Mets have been doing to most teams, the Marlins are doing to the Mets tonight. Decent jump as Ramirez looked in.
So 3 stolen bases for the Fish tonight.
Sanchez, Peterson, and now Ramirez have all swept the base. 1-2 to Stanton, and he goes down swinging. So Acosta picks up the second out of the inning as he fans Stanton.
Good breaking ball right on the corner. I don't think you can throw a slider or more like a slurve for Manny any better than that.
Remember earlier in the game when we were talking about some of the moves that National League teams have made at the trading deadline? Can I change my opinion?
Already?
Derek Lee just hit his second home run of the night for the Pirates. Really? You believe that?
Boy, you were off him in the beginning.
Here's Brian Peterson with 2 out and a runner in second. How about that? Derek Lee, first game, 2 home runs, a solo shot, and a 2-run homer. They're still down by a run, 4-3 Cubs in the 8th.
Gary, you're front running again.
Just acknowledging that I can be wrong more often than I'm right. Of course, first games can be deceiving. If you went by opening day this year, Cameron Maybin was the MVP in the National League.
Well, you think about it this way, too. That charged up fan base of Pittsburgh, they're at home tonight. Usually they're the ones selling at this time of the year, and they get a veteran, he provides some offense.
Manny Acosta with his Oscar Gamble look. Throws a strike.
Oh, nice call.
Semi-Oscar.
He's got to go a ways to get to Oscars territory.
Well, it's a different era.
Yeah.
I like it.
Who else had great afros? Gary Maddox had a great afro for a while.
Dick Allen had one for a while.
Driven down the right field line, hooking toward the corner. Foul ball. Peterson just barely missed a 2-run homer.
Big McBride.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, he was great. He had a great one.
Used to call him Shake and Bake. Well, that would have been a devastating ball right there.
Hit the foul pole, but only after carrying off the stands. That doesn't count.
Jose Cardinal had a great throw. Great throw. So all the young generation that watch, all the young Met fans, the fro was in back in the 70s.
70s were
big hair.
Maury Wills.
Afros and double knit uniforms.
I saw a picture of you today, my friend, without a stash.
That's when I was very young.
You were very young.
I was like 20 years old.
Haven't showed you that picture yet. It's outstanding. Swing and a miss. Acosta with a changeup strikes out Peterson. So a good inning for Acosta, working around Reyes' error. Strikes out a pair. Now the Mets are on the top of the batting order, coming up in the bottom of the 8th, with Reyes trying to ignite it. With the Mets down 3-1. On SNY are available in HD, presented by IOTV, and you can listen to every Mets game on Sports Radio 66 WFAN. 3 games with the Marlins, 3 with the Braves, and 4 with the Padres on this 10-game homestand before the Mets go to Arizona and San Diego on their next trip. There are the wild card standings. Diamondbacks 3.5 back in the wild card, but only 2 back in the West, and the Cardinals likewise 5.5 in the wild card, only 2.5 in the Central. So the Mets fighting uphill there. Brian Peterson moves from center field to left field. Dwayne Wise comes in for defense. He'll play center. And the new pitcher for the Marlins is Edward Mujica.
Traded in the offseason from the San Diego Padres, where he was part of a great bullpen and has provided a nice lift here this season.
Jose Reyes leads things off in the bottom of the 8th. Javier Vasquez retired his last 7 hitters and allowed just a run and 6 hits over 7. Reyes had one of those hits, a double to right in the 5th. But then he was thrown out trying to score on a base hit by Justin Turner as Mike Stanton threw him out from right field on the fly. Reyes lifts one to center field, and Wise just into the game for defense provides that one away. Reyes comes back shaking his head. He knows hitting the ball in the air is not to his benefit.
I think Keith pointed out right. He's just a little out front, huh, Keith?
A little bit. That's all. Split second. That's all it takes.
Now Justin Turner. Turner's 1 for 3, single to right his last time up. It's a final in Washington. The Nationals have beaten the Braves 5-3, despite 2 Dan Uggla home runs. Boy, is he hot. Levon Hernandez best Jair Jurgens. So the Mets, if they can rally and win this game, could gain a game on the Braves. Turner at the plate, Murphy on deck. If anybody gets on, David Wright here in the bottom of the 8th. The Marlins tonight are making their 3rd separate trip to New York. They won their only game back in April. They won a makeup game here 2 weeks ago, and they've got a 3-1 lead in the 8th tonight. They may decide to take up permanent residence.
That's right.
Might provide some tax problems. I don't know. Well, the Mets have been tremendous on the road and still trying to find their stride at Citi Field. And they'll have a lot of chances to make that 22 and 26 better during the month of August. Mets hung a loss on Mujica down in Florida. The only game the Mets won in that series. And Turner bounces one right back to Mujica. 2 out. So the last 9 Mets have been retired. And now Murphy will come up with 2 out and nobody on. Murphy's 2 for 3 tonight, twice a single to right, and last time up lined out to left. Murphy now with a 9-game hitting streak. He's got 122 hits now. Yeah. He's in the top 10 in the league in hits, despite the fact that he wasn't playing regularly early in the year. And he lines one right back to Mujica, knocks it down and throws him outside, retired. So Mujica comes on, throws a 1-2-3 inning. On to the 9th, 3-1 Florida. News and Giants news. It's all football all the time. Geico Sports Night tonight after the post game, only on SNY.
Gary, are you happy about the Jet news?
The Plaxico Burress news or the Antonio Cromartie news?
Both.
Happy about Cromartie. Not so sure about Plaxico.
Okay.
Haven't played in 3 years.
You get two outstanding wide receivers.
Yes.
If they can play up to what he used to be.
We'll see how it goes. See if we can, keep him on the up and up. John Buck leading off in the 9th inning. He's flied out deep to the warning track on 2 occasions. Also been intentionally walked. Greg Dobbs out on deck to pinch hit. And the curveball from Acosta in for a strike, 1-2. Leo Nunez up in the Marlins bullpen, getting ready to try and notch his 31st save of the year. There's Dobbs on deck. And Acosta takes care of Buck. He struck out 3 in a row. 1 down in the 9th. See what's coming up tonight on Lincoln Postgame Live. Check in with Gary Apple and Bobby Ojeda. Guys. All right, guys, we'll check in with you after the game. Right now, Greg Dobbs pinch hitting. Interesting when Jack McKeon brought in 2 players in the bottom of the 8th. He brought in Wise for defense, and he brought in a new pitcher, but he did not double switch. So he has to use an extra player, and Dobbs pinch hits here for Mujica. And Wise went into Morrison's spot in the 5-hole. Which doesn't matter unless you get into an extra inning game.
Go.
And then
there you go.
You've lost a potential player later on.
In some ways, if you had a bigger lead, that's not a bad move at all because you get Dobbs another at bat. When you have an ace pinch hitter like Dobbs is, it's as many at bats, the better.
Bonifacio on deck. Acosta was victimized by an error behind him to start the 8th, but now he's retired 4 in a row, striking out the last 3. And he misses with a changeup, 2-1. In the bottom of the 9th, the Mets will have Wright, Pagan, and Bay coming up. Mets have scored 3 runs in the last 3 games, all on solo home runs, 2 by Scott Hairston yesterday and 1 by Jason Bay tonight. I'm sure Hairston will be at the ready in the bottom of the 9th. Why not? And Dobbs pops it up. Reyes calling. 2 out. So 2 up and 2 set aside. Now Bonifacio is 1 for 4 tonight. Singled and scored in the 3rd. Robbed of a hit on a great play by Reyes in the 5th. In Milwaukee, the Brewers have scored 5 times in the 5th off Chris Carpenter still batting. They lead the Cardinals 5-2. If Milwaukee wins tonight, it would be their 7th straight, and they would open up a 3.5 game lead.
Boy, they have an explosive offense, don't they?
They play so well at home. They will win their 40th game at home. 40-14 if they hang on at home. They're under 500, 21-35 on the road. Wow.
A lot of important head-to-head series going tonight. Later, Arizona at San Francisco.
Going to put a bet check on them. The manager.
On the road, you mean?
Bet check them.
He did. The bets were there.
I'm going to check the bet. Oh, and 2 to Bonifacio, and he goes down swinging. Boy, what an outing for Manny Acosta. 2 hitless innings, 4 strikeouts. Now the Mets come up in the bottom of the 9th with Wright, Pagan, and Bay down by a deuce. Wright is 0 for 2 with a 10-game hitting streak on the line, and he fouls back the first pitch fastball, 0-1.
Interesting that David had the green light there. Down 2 runs. David is a very thin, look at that, very thin handled bat. Not much wood or by the label. It's all hitting surface. That's almost like an S2.
And that fastball away just zipped right by him. 0-2.
96 miles an hour. From that low shot we've got tonight, one thing is apparent: how close the pitcher is to the hitter. I'd say 60 feet 6 inches, but it looks closer from that shot.
0-2 from Nunez. Hit off the fist, a foul ball. Sandy Alderson mentioned today that Johan Santana's second rehab start might be pushed back a day or two. He was supposed to go Wednesday. It might be Thursday. But an important, interesting start tonight for St. Lucie, not involving Santana. And that was the first Mets organization start for Zach Wheeler. Great play by Ramirez from his knees. He throws it out. Wow, Hanley Ramirez matching the play made by Reyes earlier on the night. That ball's ripped. What a play.
Well, I always say that Ramirez saves some of his best play defensively and offensively here in New York.
Very nice. Doesn't get better than that. That's a big out for the Marlins.
Well, it keeps the tying run from coming to bat. It probably ends David Wright's 10-game hitting streak. And Angel Pagan comes up with 1 out and nobody on. Angel 0 for 3 tonight, and he pops the first pitch foul. Anyway, Zach Wheeler made his first Mets organization start. Probably not what he was hoping for. He went 4 innings, allowed 4 runs and 7 hits against Dunedin. No walks, 4 strikeouts.
Anytime you get traded, your first start, Gary, nerves.
Well, the guy who was traded for, Carlos Beltran, he was a little nervous his first game too. So,
you know, particularly getting traded to New York. I mean, when you get traded in the minor league trade, you get interviewed by the New York press.
No, you don't.
Before Texas, I don't think so.
Yeah, traded anywhere else, all you do is change uniforms.
Pick up the paper and there's a big article where they get quoted with quotes from him. They went and found him.
0-2 to Pagan, and he lines one over the glove of Infante, a base hit. And so the Mets will get the tying run to back. Pagan trying for 2, and he's safe. Oh my goodness! What a silly play by Pagan. He got away with it. Mets down by 2 in the 9th. You can't take that chance.
No, you can't. Not with this arm too. And he took a lollygag. That's why. And he fell asleep. And maybe he's still too close to try it. But this is just. You better get it.
When you get yourself thrown out there, you got to dig a hole.
Well,
it
lucky.
Just disappears.
His foot almost came off the bag. Watch how he stays with him.
Second base umpire Andy Fletcher making sure Pagan's foot was still on the bag. So Pagan survives, and Bay to the plate is the tying run. Jason's home run gave the Mets their only run in the 4th. And he grounds one down to 3rd. And Bonifacio's got it. And he throws out Bay, 2 out. And so it comes down to Lucas Duda.
Rematch.
Duda in a 450-foot clout against Leo Nunez in Florida for his first home run of the season. And that'll come up here as the tying run. And if he can keep it going for the Mets, Scott Hairston has come out on deck to bat for Ronnie Paulino. Duda 0 for 3 tonight, 0 for his last 14. And a changeup for a strike.
That's what T's going to see. He might see some fastballs up out of the strike zone, but those will be just to set up that good changeup from Nunez.
'97 down low, 1-1.
Lucas does have a good knowledge of the strike zone. See, is he up in the bullpen? Bob Gibson's number 45.
Tug McGraw's number.
That's true.
John Franco's number. Mets got a tying home run with 2 out of the 9th yesterday. Duda hits it to deep center field. Back goes Wise to the track. Looking up. It's out of here. Can you believe that? 2 days in a row. The Mets tie the game with 2 out of the 9th. Duda's 2-run bomb gets the Mets even at 3. His 3rd of the year, his 1st at Citi Field, and his 2nd of the year against Leo Nunez.
Fastball, right down Broadway. He got the barrel out.
Talk about the big Lebowski.
Nicely done, young man. Wow.
So now Scott Hairston will get another crack, and all he's done in his last 2 at-bats is hit 2 home runs, including that tying shot in Washington yesterday. When Scott Hairston came off the bench yesterday and hit 2 home runs, he became only the 2nd Met in history to hit 2 home runs in a game he didn't start. Duda takes a curtain call. And Hairston moves out of the way. The only other Met ever to hit 2 home runs in a game he didn't start, got to go back to 1964. Hawk Taylor, who was a backup catcher to Chris Cannizzaro, came in when Cannizzaro was ejected and hit 2 home runs against the Phillies. 1964, the day before Jim Bunning threw his perfect game at Shea. And now Scott Hairston, 47 years later, equaled it. And that just missed. 2 balls and a strike to Hairston. Josh Tolle has come out on deck to pinch hit if Hairston keeps it going. And Hairston is hit, and he goes to first base. So Nunez falling apart a little bit here in the 9th, and Randy St. Clair will take a visit. The Mets have the winning run aboard with 2 out.
That got away from him big time.
So Hairston now at first. Josh Tolle will come up to pinch hit. Nunez blowing a save for only the 4th time in 34 tries this year. And St. Clair being rather pointed in his comments.
Well, Leo Nunez is a guy that pitches solely on emotion, and when he gets hit hard, becomes emotional.
Tolle is at 4 career at bats against Nunez, and he's 3 for 4.
Nunez takes a long time to go to the plate. Does Hairston have enough to swipe a bag?
In a spot where a double could win the game, the Marlins are not playing all that deep in the outfield. I know Tolle is not a real extra base hit threat, but don't you have to play a little deeper?
Well, the center fielder Dwayne Wise, who's an outstanding outfielder, is playing pretty shallow. Place for Tolle, if he can look for something middle of the plate in, playing him way off that right field line.
My feeling is that he's going to stay away. He made a mistake to do to punch that left center field gap.
You know what it is, though, Keith? His best pitch is his changeup. That's a pitch that Tolle can pull down the line. Ooh.
1-0 to Josh, and the changeup misses inside, and it's 2-0. Now, if Tolle gets aboard, then you got the winning run in scoring position with Reyes coming up. So Nunez in a position where he really has to throw a strike. 3-3 bottom of the 9th. And Tolle takes a letter high strike and looks back at Mike DeMuro to ask about it. 2-1. Nunez got saved on a great play by Ramirez to start the inning, but Pagan legged the double, and with 2 out, Duda tied it with a 2-run homer. And Toley takes a rip at a fastball, 2-2.
Throw it by him.
Why would you throw anything else? Buck has to put a fastball down.
Fastball away. Don't let him catch up, right?
Right.
2-2. And he foul tips it, held by Buck. Side retired, and we're going to extra innings. But Lucas Duda, with the Mets down to their final out for the 2nd straight day, they tied with a home run. Hairston yesterday, Duda tonight. A 2-run shot. It's 3-3 going to the 10th. Homer to Duda, and I don't know what he's so unhappy about, but clearly he's unhappy about something.
John Buck as catcher is like, you know what? What's the phrase they use now? Talk to the hand. Now, who wants to hear it?
Well, I mean, was he getting on Buck for pitch?
No, he's just mouthing off, and the only one that he should blame is himself, to tell you the truth. Wasted a pretty great effort by Javi Vasquez.
So Mike Pelfrey's off the hook. Josh Toley, who pinch hit, stays in behind the plate, and Jason Isringhausen on to pitch. He'll hit in the 8-hole.
Well, Izzy 2 saves away on that road trip. He was outstanding. Got the 298 here. Of course, pitching in this tie game.
Omar Infante leads off, takes a strike, and Izzy hurt himself on that first pitch.
He's all right. He's all right.
What happened?
He just kind of slipped here.
Whoa.
Well, remember, he had to play at first base last week when he had to go sliding in and folded himself in half, and his hip was barking a little bit the next day, but he's a tough customer.
He was just laughing at himself. Like, boy, that's a little embarrassing.
Infante's 3 for 4 tonight, and he breaks his bat and rolls one past the mound. Reyes guns him down, 1 away. So Isringhausen no worse for wear. Just had a bat flying back at him.
He might be no worse for wear, but he's got a little bit of a limp, Gary, walking around. It's very noticeable.
Well, he's had a lot to deal with over the last few years, whether it's elbow problems, hip problems. Bert Badenhop having a little drinking problem out in the bullpen. Here's Gabby Sanchez. 1 for 2. Sacrifice fly, a stolen base, 2 RBIs tonight. And Sanchez, who started the night, a .382 lifetime hitter against the Mets, up in a tie game in the 10th. And Isringhausen behind 2-0. Isringhausen pitching behind Manny Acosta, who did a brilliant job keeping the Mets in this game. 2 hitless innings, 4 strikeouts. Duda tying it with a 2-run homer in the ninth. And Sanchez fouls one off his leg, 2-1. Can't imagine the last time the Mets tied 2 games in a row with 2 out of the 9th inning with home runs. Hairston yesterday, Duda tonight. Yesterday they couldn't seal the deal. Trying to change the script tonight. Braves have lost, so if the Mets can win this game, they would gain a game on Atlanta and be 6.5 out. Remember, the Braves are here for a series this weekend. And Sanchez lines a base hit. His second hit of the night. And so the Marlins have a 1-out base runner with Hanley Ramirez coming up. Sanchez pushing toward 400 against the Mets.
Yeah. It's just incredible how he just wears them out.
In a way, you have to feel, boy, you held him to two hits tonight.
And held him to a single here in a big spot in the 10.
Kept him in the ballpark.
Yep. So here's Ramirez, who was 0 for 4, reached on Reyes' throwing error his last time up.
He's been watching. Is he pitching everyone away? He's going to try to shoot it to right center.
Hits it hard through the hole in the left. And so back-to-back hits off Isringhausen with 1 out of the 10. And Ramirez has his first hit of the night. Now Dwayne Wise will be coming up for the first time. Remember, Wise came in for defense in the 8th inning when the Marlins had the lead, and Jack McKeon didn't double switch. If he had, Wise would have batted in the 9th, and then the pitcher spot would be coming up, and he'd have Greg Dobbs here to pinch hit, who's a better hitter than Wise. Instead, Jack is out of left-handed pinch hitter.
But everything Jack touches in July has come up roses, hasn't it?
But now it's August.
That's right.
So now Wise, best known for his great catch in Mark Burley's perfect game. And he takes the pitch high for ball 1. Wise hitting just 188 for Florida. He's had just 48 at bats. Sanchez and Ramirez, the base runners, with 1 out. Wise can run. Tough guy to double up. And he hits it through the hole, a base hit. Sanchez to third will be held up there by Joe Espada. No! And now the hitter, Wise, is in a rundown between first and second. And the flip, and he gets back safely. Oh, wow! Reminiscent of the play by Murphy yesterday. Wise, after Sanchez had stopped at third, was hung out to dry. But the Mets lost him.
Strong throw by Duda, hits the cutoff man. Now Turner backing up. Give it to Turner.
You want to give it to Turner because Turner's eyes are on the play. The play is in front of him. Murphy has his back to the play. Want to get it to Turner as quick as possible.
Well, Murphy was trying to have eyes in the back of his head and kept on running Wise, but Wise was close enough to the bag that he was able to beat the flip. He's in the middle of everything, isn't he?
Yeah.
It's just crazy every day. Something. So now Isringhausen has a bases loaded 1-out Mets to work out of after the Marlins appeared to be giving the Mets a gift. They could have walked Stanton. If they had gotten Wise on that play, they would have had second and third. They could have walked Stanton and pitched to Peterson, but instead now they have to pitch to Stanton with the bases loaded. And how are you going to play your infield here?
Well, they're in at the corners. They're playing back for 2.
Boy, Stanton fast enough, and the Mets have trouble turning 2 sometimes. And Isringhausen misses low, ball one.
Sanchez not a lot of speed at third. If you have to come in the middle infield, the play's got to be at home if you can't turn two.
Where Stanton hits the ball so hard, if he hits it at an infielder, it should be a double play ball. And totally blocks that one. 2-0. 3 straight hits off Isringhausen after he appeared to hurt his ankle or something throwing his first pitch. Nobody in the bullpen. He got Infante on the broken bat grounder, but then Sanchez, Ramirez, and Wise with 3 straight hits to load the bases. Stanton 1 for 4 tonight and asked for time.
We mentioned before that he can feast on the breaking ball, Stanton, but when he gets to these counts, he turns it up a notch.
Now the 2-0. And he takes a strike.
Wow. What's he looking for? It's a cutter. Plenty of plate.
Tim Burdock up in the Mets bullpen. Left-hand hitter Peterson on deck, but plenty of right-handed bats in the dugout. Here's the 2-1. And Stanton chases that cutter off the plate. It's 2-2.
Took one down the middle, Keith, and swung at this one.
Yep. Two. He held the swing that time, and he stopped it. Jim Walkie with the call. It's 3-2.
Boy, good pitch by Izzy.
He did that on purpose.
He did.
He'd see if he'd fished for it. He's going to throw him another one, Ronnie. He's got enough confidence. He's been down this path before.
But he's got to catch, at least start that ball on the plate.
He's got to throw it for a strike here. You got to get it away.
No place to put him. 3-2 with 1 out. And it's driven in deep left field. Bay goes back, looks up, and that ball is out of here. A grand slam from Mike Stanton. And the Marlins go up 7-3 in the 10th.
Oh, boy.
The Mets' inability to tag out Dwayne Wise meant they had to pitch to Stanton, and Stanton makes them pay. 25th home run of the year, and it's 7-3 Florida.
Out in a hurry.
Made this ballpark look tiny, didn't he?
Wow. Hanging slider, Ronnie?
Yep. Hanging cutter. And cutter.
He wanted, yep.
He didn't fish for the 2-2-1 away. Had to throw a strike as he did. Paid for it.
Well.
Second career grand slam for Mike Stanton, and for the Marlins, their 6th grand slam this year, more than any team in the National League. And the Mets have been victimized twice. Buck against Pelfrey opening day, and now Stanton against Isringhausen. Peterson pulls it foul, and it's 0-2. Well, the Mets 2 days in a row coming back to tie with a home run with 2 out in the 9th inning. They lost yesterday's game in walk-off fashion in Washington, and now in a big hole in the 10th inning tonight. Peterson is 0 for 2, a walk and a sacrifice fly, and he goes down swinging on the curveball. That's the 2nd out of the inning. 9 strikeouts tonight for Met pitchers.
Good curveball here by Izzy, down and in.
'25th home run, that man right there. He's a strong man.
3rd in the National League in home runs. He's got 67 RBIs. He's just 21 years old.
Ooh.
But, you know, again, you go back to plays not made. The Mets were handed a gift on bad base running by Dwayne Wise, and somehow they let him get away. Otherwise, there's no way in the world they would have pitched to Stanton.
Well, Keith talked about it before. It's those split-second decisions that you have to have almost as part of your baseball DNA to get rid of that ball to Turner.
John Buck 0 for 3 and a walk. And the curveball sits on the outside corner, and it's 0-2. Well, looking ahead to the bottom of the 10th, the Mets will have the top of the batting order coming up to try and come back again. Reyes, Turner, and Murphy due up. Badenhop is up in the bullpen. As of now, Nunez is still in the game, although Wes Helms is on deck to bat for him if Buck keeps the inning going. Nunez threw 20 pitches in the 9th inning. Badenhop has already figured prominently in an extra inning game here this year. Remember, he got a base hit in the 11th inning to beat the Mets in a game. 1-2, and Buck takes the curveball wide, 2-2.
Well, the only problem now when you have these kind of innings against Izzy with the 21 pitches now in this inning, do you lose him tomorrow?
He had 2 days off before this outing tonight. Up and in, and pops out of Tolly's mitt, 3-2. Well, yesterday, Drew Storen in Washington got the blown save and the win. Tonight, Leo Nunez, the blown save and a chance for a win. How does a closer feel about that BSW in the box score?
Well, it should be a team win. That's what it should be.
3-2. Struck him out. Inning over, but damage done. Isringhausen gives up 3 straight hits. Mets had a chance to tag out Dwayne Wise, but Murphy lost the play, and Stanton follows with a grand slam. Second of his career, and it's 7-3 Florida in the 10th. Terry Collins, 2 days in a row, has watched his team pull off incredible rallies, only to see the bottom drop out. Now the Mets are down 7-3 as they come up in the bottom of the 10th. Mets will have the top of the batting order up against Burt Badenhop, who tries to get the final 3 outs for Florida.
Well, you talked about that game he had here at Citi Field, where not only did he drive in the winning run, but he got the win. Did Burt Badenhop. Very useful pitcher. Can pitch a long relief and here in for the save.
In fact, both of his wins have been against the Mets this year. He got a victory in the series in Florida 2 weekends ago. Reyes is 1 for 4 tonight. He doubled in the 5th inning. And Badenhop This is outside, 1-1. Reyes, Turner, and Murphy trying to get this game turned around. After Lucas Duda hit a 2-run homer to tie the game in the bottom of the ninth. And a little dribbler up along first, and that goes foul. 1-2.
Gary, you mentioned it before. Just the opposite of how the Mets have been scoring for most of the season. Last 6 runs, all on home runs.
Hairston with the 2 home runs yesterday. Bay a solo shot, and Duda a 2-run homer today. Badenhop ahead on Reyes, 1-2. And the curveball misses, 2-2. Reyes looking for his 2nd hit of the night. If he gets it, it would be his 50th multiple hit game of the year. Out to left field, and there is Peterson. 1 out. So Reyes has made 4 outs tonight. All 4 have been in the air.
And a lot of them off the end of the bat. That one was off the end of the bat also. He's just a little out in front.
So 1 out of the bottom of the 10th, and now Justin Turner, who is 1 for 4 tonight. Big play in this game in the 5th inning with Reyes at second base. Mets were down 3-1. Reyes tried to score on a base hit to right by Turner, and Stanton, who has been all over the place tonight, threw out Reyes by about 20 feet. That was Stanton's first big contribution. The second one came moments ago. His 2nd career grand slam. Slider off the plate, 1-1. The Florida Marlins are playing their 16th extra inning game this year. That's a lot of extra inning games. They're 5-10 in extra innings. The Mets are 5-4. Turner pops it up. Infante out to get it. 2 out. And so the Mets are down to their final out, and Daniel Murphy will try and keep it going. Murphy's 2 for 4 tonight. Singled his first 2 times up. And another day when Murph in the clubhouse after the game will have to answer questions about something other than his hitting.
Other than his 2 hits.
He's 3rd in the league in batting. But there are so many other things that happen in the course of a game other than your at bats. Slap to short, this should do it. Ramirez throws out Murphy, and the ball game is over. So after the Mets dramatically tied the game in the bottom of the 9th on Lucas Duda's 2-run homer, Mike Stanton's grand slam off Jason Isringhausen in the 10th wins it for Florida, and the Mets suffer their 3rd consecutive loss.
Well, Terry Collins' crew goes to 5 games under 500 here at Citi Field at 22-27. They miss a chance to pick up a game on Atlanta. That lost their game. Manny Acosta really the pitching star for the Mets. Pelfrey with a quality start. Acosta kept him in it with 2 innings and 4 punch-outs.
Well, the big guy Stanton with the grand slam, his 25th home run with the icer there, and the Mets lose an opportunity to pick up a game. The Marlins just continue to always play this Met club tough.
There's your out-of-game summary. The Marlins just a game behind the Mets in the standings now as they win at 7-3-10. We'll come back with more from Citi Field in just a moment.